Thank you. Our agenda today, this afternoon, we will convene an executive session for a review of assignments with our Executive Director, John Arnold. On Thursday, the board will reconvene an executive session here in this room at 9 a.m. for reviews of assignments with the Enterprise Executive Committee and President Cruz Rivera, and for other items listed on the executive session agenda. At approximately 1:30 tomorrow, the public portion of the meeting will resume in the North Ballroom, which is next to us. On Friday morning, the board will reconvene an executive session for reviews of assignments with President Crow and President Robbins, and for other items on the executive session agenda. Following the executive session on Friday, the board will adjourn the meeting. Do I have a motion to enter into executive session for the items on the executive session agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. The board will now convene an executive session. Good afternoon and welcome everyone to our meeting. The meeting of the Arizona Board of Regents was called to order this afternoon before convening an executive session. Today's public meeting is scheduled until 5 o'clock. A link to the live stream of the public meeting is available on the board's website under ABOR Live or by going to YouTube and searching for ABOR News. Let's begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. So, Regent Mata, would you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'd like to begin with an introduction. Thomas Atkins, where is Thomas? Newly joining us. Stand up, please, Thomas. You'll be joining the ABOR Government Affairs team with significant experience in the legislature and government affairs. Welcome to our team. Appreciate it. And President Robbins, thank you for your team for putting together today's meeting and hosting us. Greatly appreciate all that goes into that. So our first order of business is call to the audience, as I suspect you know. If you have any materials for the Regents, please give them to our board secretary, Suzanne Templin. Suzanne is over here. She's sitting there to my left, and she will distribute them to all the members of the board. Pursuant to board policy, time has been set aside, as it is at every meeting, for a call to the audience. While the board reserves the right to limit the number of presenters on any one topic, I intend to let this run as long as needed to assure that every voice is heard. As a public board, it is important that we hear all stories, all opinions, and all input. The call to the audience is not a place for threatening comments. It's an opportunity for individuals to address the entire board in a public setting to express their views and concerns regarding board governance. Regents, typically we do not respond to comments made during call to the audience. However, we do hear your remarks, and we may ask the appropriate person to follow up and provide us with information on any issues that you, the speakers, raise. When you are called to speak, please proceed to the lectern. To keep us on schedule, each speaker has a 3-minute time cap. As a courtesy to each speaker, Suzanne, who is now sitting in front of me, will hold up a sign signaling how much time the speaker has remaining. At the end of the 3 minutes, we ask that you conclude your remarks. I will gently then enforce the time rules, not so much to cut people off, but simply because we want to allow every voice their time to be heard. University staff is here to ensure that this meeting remains safe and no one here at the table or among the audience is any kind of personal risk or harm. With that, Suzanne, let's begin. Would you please call our first member of the audience?
Thank you, Chair Duval. Our first speaker is Jazelle Aon, followed by John LaGuardia.
Good afternoon. My name is Jazelle Aon, and I'm a retired U of A employee. Thank you for taking public comments, including mine. I read an article about letters sent to you by the Goldwater Institute outlining specific training that were being required by Arizona State University employees that appear to be a major violation of statutory prohibition on mandatory DEI and taxpayer-funded DEI in a state and state agencies. DEI stands for discrimination, exclusion, and indoctrination. Please also address CRT, communist racist training, and ESG, environmental social grift. These are Marxist ploys to pit us against each other. We don't pay attention to the globalist communists who want to bankrupt our country to force the one world order, not on our watch. I commend the board that helped to put an end on requiring diversity pledges of new hires at ASU. And my hope is that the board will address additional policies that will protect students and staff against unlawful racial discrimination, including condemning professors and students that support the terrorist Hamas. This type of bigotry, hate, and racism has no place at this university in Arizona or America. Thank you.
Our next speaker, John LaGuardia, followed by Tessa Fisher.
Regent Duval, President Robbins, and members of the Arizona Board Regions, and of course, attendees. Thank you for this opportunity to speak with you. My name is John LaGuardia, and I am a career track lecturer in the writing program at the University of Arizona. I'm here representing approximately 80 instructors in our cohort who are directly responsible for preparing our students for academic and professional success, to request a wage increase to correct the deficit between our pay and the national median. Lecturers in the writing program teach more than 8,000 students a year, including the vast majority of incoming first-year students. Each of us teaches 200 or more student writers and contributes to the administrative functioning of our program. We teach academic writing skills such as argumentation and persuasion, analysis, research, and synthesis, as well as critical thinking skills that transfer into virtually every university discipline. As we teach these necessary skills, we also interact with our students on a personal basis, directly contributing to their success and retention by establishing a positive and encouraging tone for their academic experience here. We directly generate $9.4 million of revenue each year through the student credit hours associated with our classes, and we indirectly generate more by providing the skills and motivation students need to continue into future classes and future years. Unfortunately, the dignity we bring to our roles and the value we bring to our university are not reflected in our wage. As a fellow member of the English department and fellow union member mentioned in the last ABOR session in Tucson, our wages have stagnated at a base rate of $44,000 since 2018. Data from the American Association of University Professors and from our own research show unfavorable comparisons with the majority of our peer institutions, many of which pay their instructors $50,000 to $60,000 per year with a lower number of classes and a lower number of students per class. We've heard the writing program described as a cash cow, a phrase you may have heard as well. The fact is we make a lot of money for our university. And yet with inflation and the surge in property rates and rental rates in Tucson, writing program lecturers are struggling to make ends meet. New hires who relocated themselves and their families here quickly discovered that they couldn't survive in Tucson, even at their full-time salaries. Many of us have taken on second or third jobs, teaching courses at other institutions or in other departments at U of A at lower adjunct rate of pay. Our extra jobs are not taken for luxury or leisure, but to make up the disparity between our full-time wage and the cost of rent, food, healthcare, childcare, and other necessities. We are used to performing above expectations, and we have been working in good faith to keep things going according to best practices in education and in our specific field. But financial insecurities, repeated threats of layoffs, and the rolling back of multi-year contracts have made unwavering focus on student success increasingly difficult. Like members of the Board of Regents, however, we are committed to building a better university. We believe in the mission to provide the highest quality education to our students. We believe in the vision of a university that thrives intellectually, culturally, and financially. As we move forward, we want to be a part of that mission, not its victims or sacrifices. So as you consider strategies to rebuild our cash on hand, we ask you to remember that our working conditions are our students' learning conditions. An investment in us is an investment in them. One last sentence here. So with this in mind, we request a wage increase for the lecturers in the writing program. Thank you.
Tessa Fisher, followed by Eddie Barron.
Hello, my name is Dr. Tessa Fisher. I'm a postdoctoral researcher here with the Stewart Observatory at University of Arizona. As a postdoc, I am one of only 2% of the US population that has a PhD, in my case, in geological sciences. Yet, despite this, I am only making enough to live barely above paycheck to paycheck, especially since my wife recently started experiencing health difficulties and had to take medical leave from her position. I would like to say that I find it inexcusable for the U of A administration to have mismanaged $240 million when some of its most highly trained and credentialed employees are living on such tight margins. And not only that, are now facing the threat of further cuts while those responsible receive little accountability. Thank you.
Eddie Barron, followed by Holly Thomas.
Good morning, members of the board. My name is Eddie Barron, and I'm a sophomore here at the University of Arizona studying public policy and sociology and currently serving as a student body executive vice president. In my role, I oversee 500 plus clubs on campus, the Student Body Senate, and the Club Appropriations Board, which this year was charged with dispersing $200,000 worth of funding. I do this all while being a first-generation student and holding a part-time job so that I can pay my rent and other necessary expenses. I come here today as one of the many students who deeply rely on financial aid to help pay for my college. When President Robbins announced the university's financial crisis and the ways he's looking to recover from it, I was riddled with fear and anxiety, not only for myself, but for future students who didn't grow up in a wealthy family who could afford to pay for their college education. When the thought of less opportunities for scholarship crosses my mind, I think of my little sister, my younger cousins, and the opportunity of obtaining higher education that will be ripped from them simply because they cannot afford it. Yesterday, when student leadership met with Chair Duvall and Director Arnold to discuss the financial crisis, they were adamant that this was not a financial crisis. But when there is a fast approaching deadline and students and faculty and staff seem to be the first on the chopping block, it's hard to not see it as one. To say I am frustrated at the lack of management and accountability is an understatement. Low-income students shouldn't have to pay for a miscalculation of $240 million shortfall that happened under President Robin and Lisa Rowley's watch. Students are sick and tired of constantly footing the bill for this university and getting the short end of the stick time and time again. I implore the board to hold those accountable who are responsible for the position we find ourselves in today and get to the bottom of what got us here, what this university prioritizing, and what it clearly isn't. This is on you, President Robbins. Students shouldn't be burdened by having to bail out an administration that treats this institution of higher education like a business by prioritizing athletics and failed investments in online universities while being so willing to cut scholarship funding for students at the snap of their fingers. Thank you.
Holly Thomas, followed by Nicholas Bruno.
Hands. Suzanne, would you do that again? I don't think anybody could.
Holly Thomas, followed by Nicholas Bruno.
Let me get my mask. Good afternoon. Thank you for having us. My name is Holly Thomas. I'm a PhD student in the Geoscience Department here at the University of Arizona. Fuel Wonder means philanthropy is our fuel. That is the fuel that's going to help us reach beyond into the universe, said President Robbins at a recent fundraising event where the university announced the success of its current fundraising campaign. More than $2.5 billion have been raised in the past 6 years, making them the 6th highest giving years in the university's history. I'm sure these numbers aren't new to you. But the university has also raised out-of-state tuition by $8,000, reported an increase in tuition paying students, and revenue has increased by over $500 million over the same 6-year period. I am a scientist. I am not a banker. I might be missing something here, but I find it incredible that despite all of the metrics indicating financial success, the administration has plunged us into a financial crisis, one that Robbins, champion of philanthropy, proposes remedying through a series of draconian cuts to faculty and staff and a reduction in student aid. What is glaringly absent in the rhetoric surrounding this crisis is any assumption of responsibility or burden by our so-called leaders. Instead, those of us who had no role and no culpability in this crisis are slated to pay for it with our jobs and with our future. I'm going to read just a few more quotes. At the University of Arizona, we embed the principles of diversity and equity into every Wildcat every day, practicing both inclusion and compassion in every interaction. The 360 initiative made student support a top university priority, and it's become even more crucial in the past year from a fundraising press release. And finally, President Robbins himself, I am a big fan of fair and just culture. Where is this commitment to student support, justice, inclusion, and compassion in the administration's response to this crisis? Rather than propose solutions that involve any sort of reduction in the responsible personnel, their salaries, or even their luxurious benefits packages, the ones who stand to pay are the students, staff, and faculty. How dare you claim to support us? How dare you claim a commitment to justice and inclusion? The campus community is unified, and we are unafraid to bring these choices to light. We are watching and we are talking, and we demand the university finds a solution that aligns with its purported values. Punish those responsible for this crisis, not those of us who are busy with the pursuit and distribution of knowledge, which is the true purpose of this university. Thank you for hearing me.
Nicholas Bruno, followed by Ava Lesko.
Hello, my name is Nick. I'm a U of A alum, class of 2017, worked in elder care and TUSD preschools, multiple jobs at the same time, and now in hospitality, which surprisingly pays more than both of those sectors. I'm a member of the Tucson Tenants Union and the Party for Socialism and Liberation. Today is a prime example that the capitalist class will stop at nothing to prevent and overturn any possible reforms or challenges to their power and control. When Regent Penley said, do anything to reclaim that $240 million unaccounted for, they wanted to make us bear the costs of their daily corruption. To this, I join the thousands calling to chop from the top, and that we will overcome their efforts to keep us subjugated. The Arizona Board of Regents are personal embodiments of the connections between the imperialist corporations structuring the US war economy and dominating our education system at the same time. They boast of their war profiteering as CEOs and board members of other companies and their billionaire ties, taking pride in ravaging the environment and oppressing the global working class. We have so much potential if our brilliance as students, faculty, and staff was put to the service of international solidarity and working class unity. We unite to call an end to all contracts that profit off of Israeli occupation and other military interventions and proxy wars. We, as workers, hold the future for humanity, which looks like research, like at a university such as this, done in service to the social good and not for private profits, which looks like guaranteed union jobs with full social benefits for all, which looks like public education campaigns about the importance of efforts to redress systematic exploitation of women, LGBTQ people, Black people, immigrants, indigenous, disabled people, and other oppressed nations, which some board members have made a career off of. Looking at you, Tom Horn. The Board of Regents answers us with shrugs, with smirks, pretending or projecting away their part in the destruction of rights and lives of the great majority of people with efforts to infiltrate, undermine, and destroy the public sector. I'm amazed how the people here have borne the weight of the empire's hubris and know that for each of the human rights abuses that y'all are responsible for and complicit in, people are becoming more conscious, more united, and more organizationally militant to find an alternative. Empire means never having to say you're sorry, but we will not be intimidated, and we will not forgive, and we will not forget. We are the majority, and we know that a blow to one of us is a blow to all. We won't be divided or repressed, and we will win. Because liberation is irresistible and irreversible. Thank you.
Ava Lesko, followed by Phyllis Bradkin.
Good afternoon. My name is Eva Lesko, and I'm a computer science student here at the U of A as a freshman. I'm here to talk about, I'm here to tell you a story from when I was in high school. I was in our code club, and we were given a grant of $7,000 to go to a hackathon at MIT. We were promised that grant 2 months before we were supposed to leave, and this grant would have paid for transportation, food, housing, everything that would have been involved, including computers for low-income students who couldn't afford it. 2 hours before we were supposed to leave, that $7,000 went missing. I think it's astounding that my tuition is nearly $250,000 and somehow 10 times that amount went missing. When that happened at my school, 3 people were fired. But when it happened here, nothing has happened. There is no call to action. It's like when students have a deadline, they procrastinate until the very end to get an assignment done. That feels like what's happening here. Feels like no one is actually taking the time to put in the effort to make things happen. Thank you.
Phyllis Bradkin, followed by Miranda Lopez.
I'm giving you all a minute just to make sure you're looking up here, not on phones, as I would for a student. Thank you. I'm Phyllis Bradkin with the University Center for Assessment, Teaching, and Technology, but my heart is in the College of Education. I'm speaking on my own behalf, but I'm also speaking on behalf of employees who are planning retirement in the next 3 to 5 years. Because your decisions won't affect us for the next year or two, it will literally affect us for the rest of our lives. As we are here to talk about numbers, specifically numbers that reflect budget miscalculation, I would like to share 4 numbers of my own. In 1977, I began paying into Social Security. I began working to help pay my parents' bills and to save money for college. I was 16 and I've never stopped working since then. So I've been paying into Social Security every year since then. 1989. After finishing my bachelor's and master's degree in special education here at the University of Arizona, I began teaching at the Arizona State School for the Deaf and Blind, and I began paying into the retirement system at that time and have continued to do so every day, every year since then. 2001, I began my work at the University of Arizona, first as adjunct, next as appointed personnel, and now as an associate professor of practice. And the last number, 2024. I have carefully planned for my retirement in May of 2024. I'm going to repeat the numbers. 1977, 1989, 2001. I'm making sure everyone's looking up here again. I know it's a long time to pay attention for 3 minutes, Tom especially. I come from education. Let's keep our eyes on it. And 2024. As I plan my retirement, I feel proud, accomplished, and incredibly blessed that I've had the opportunity to do meaningful work, work from my heart, work with good people, many of whom I love dearly, but I didn't do it for free, nor have you. You are floating decisions that will directly collide with my 40 years of teaching in this community and at the university. That collision is not on me. I didn't run the stop sign, but you did. I didn't speed, but you did. And I didn't buy a car I couldn't afford, but you did. You should receive the citation, you should pay the fine, and your car should be repoed. I did my job for 40 years, now you do yours.
Miranda Lopez, followed by Sara Candel.
Good afternoon. Thank you for your time today. My name is Miranda Lopez, and I'm the Southern Regional Director for the Arizona Students Association and a graduate student at the U of A. I wanted to share a statement today with you all on behalf of the Arizona Students Association. We echo the concerns of UA students, faculty, and staff who are here today. The financial mismanagement of UA and the continuous prioritization of central administration's narrow financial and political interests above those of the larger campus community have reached a tipping point. We also share concern with other groups here about the rise in right-wing violence seen on our campuses. Students, faculty, and staff should not have to come to campus afraid for their safety. Queer students and students of color should not have to endure the threatening and hostile rhetoric of groups like Turning Point USA. Free speech is one thing, fearing for our lives is another. We have previously spoken to board staff about the ability to put student housing and dining costs on payment plans instead of making payment due all at once at the beginning of the semester. Anything we can do to alleviate the financial burden on our already struggling students is necessary to ensure their futures at our universities. We had the opportunity to speak with Director Arnold about this idea and are excited to see next steps soon. We thank the board and its staff for continuing to meet with us as we push our goals forward. ASA and all of its students are actively lobbying the state legislature for increased funding to higher education in Arizona, and we would appreciate your continued support in these endeavors. Thank you.
Sara Candel, followed by Marcos Esparza.
Hello, members of the Board of Regents. My name is Sara Candel. I am a student at the University of Arizona studying public health and currently serve as the Student Body Administrative Vice President. In my role, I work with several programs and services that are doing the work to support the students you all fail to support yourselves. I'm a student who will be in over $20,000 of debt following the completion of my undergraduate degree. My only source of income is through the stipend I receive from student government. An increase in tuition not only means more debt and limitations on my future, but by doing so, you are furthering the existing disparities that you all continue to sow deep within the grounds of Tucson. As you all market for more students to attend this school, you fail to meet the needs of the students that are already here. You fail to attend to deferred maintenances, not meeting the expectations of the Climate Action Plan. You fail to provide more affordable housing, food, and other basic needs. You fail to provide Middle Eastern and North African students their own cultural center. This is considering the fact that Black and Brown students feel connected to the university and excel academically when provided with identity-based engagement, discussions, and spaces, evident by the Black Student Success Report. You fail to recognize students' needs and instead focus on investing the resources you do have on things you deem profitable. That was until it wasn't profitable. Now, because of failure and oversight by the Board of Regents and failure in leadership by President Robbins, you are having to seek out solutions to get us out of this deep hole. So then you look to the students you failed to support to get you out of this mess. What you fail to realize is that the real power lies within the students. Your roles would not exist without our contributions. We have every right to walk in here, demand changes, and see those changes take place. The students at the University of Arizona demand that the Arizona Board of Regents provide protections to faculty and staff to prevent layoffs from this mismanagement of money. We demand there is no tuition or fee increase, that funds are sought out elsewhere that does not come from the pockets of the students. We demand a thorough explanation of our current financial crisis. We demand next steps that allows for student review and feedback. Lastly, the students are not responsible for your misjudgments and poor decision-making skills. You are responsible for your own actions, and we demand that President Robbins stop his own bleed. Thank you.
Marcos Esparza, followed by Kira Otis.
Hi, my name is Marcos. I'm a graduate researcher in the Optical Sciences Department pursuing my PhD. Along with every other graduate and undergraduate student employee and staff member in this state, we provide the vast majority of the academic work that is done at Arizona universities. However, every semester, graduate students are required to pay an extra fee on top of tuition. For graduate researchers whose work is funded, this often feels like we have to pay in order to keep our positions. For all students, this is often an extra, typically unforeseen cost we have to contend with at the beginning of every semester. This extra cost is also on top of and worsens the current cost of living crisis that many students are experiencing. To make things worse, these fees have increased by more than 25% in the last 5 years. It can be said that a portion of these fees go towards resources such as library resources and information technology that student employees will use in their academic work. However, given that the university appears to be the main beneficiary of this academic work done by students, they should be the ones responsible for providing the resources needed to perform this work. By bundling graduate student fees with tuition, the university can at least allow for students' research funding to pay for these fees in addition to tuition. Better yet would be to remove them entirely. Doing so would remove a major burden that all students face each semester. Thank you.
Kira Otis, followed by Nicholas Malavari.
Greetings, y'all. My name is Kiera Otis. I am an ASU doctoral candidate, a reproductive health researcher, and a full spectrum doula. And today I'm here to urge the Board of Regents to join the Palestinian campaign for the academic and social boycott of Israel, a Zionist state. Now, let me be clear. I, along with the vast majority of anti-Zionist activists, do not equate Judaism with Zionism. We do not believe all Jewish people are Zionists. We know there are Jewish people of all backgrounds who wish to have peaceful coexistence with people who do not share their faith. I cannot express my gratitude and respect for the many anti-Zionist activists in the streets crying and chanting in our name. And today I'm here to say to ABOR, not with support from our institutions, not with our money. As students and workers of Arizona's public universities, we do not want to support genocide of Palestinians or any other people. While the mainstream media pretends that history starts on October 7th, we know violence started in 1948 with the Nakba. Now let me tell you about the asymmetry of violence and power in this conflict, so-called conflict. Prior to October 7th, Israelis had 309 fatalities. Palestinians had 6,542. This is from the UN, by the way. Since October 7th, approximately 1,200 Israelis have been killed and at least 11,000 Palestinians. Over 4,000 of the Palestinian dead have been children, since nearly half the population of Gaza is under the age of 18. So this means 1 in every 200 Gazans have been killed by the state of Israel. Among the survivors, there are children, pregnant and postpartum women, elderly people, disabled people, recent amputees, and health workers. And these tragedies are enabled by this board, people on this board who profit from it. I humbly and strongly implore ABOR to join the BDS movement for a free Palestine. The legality of BDS in state institutions in Arizona may be unclear and contested, but the morality is not. The board can take a stance and support BDS policy and urge the state legislature to repeal the anti-BDS law. Thank you. Free Palestine.
Nicholas Malavari, followed by Ted Downing.
My name is Nick Molinari. I'm a graduate student here at the University of Arizona, and thank you for giving me this time to speak. I would like to begin by quoting B'Tselem, which is Israel's very own state-run human rights organization, and they issued a report in 2021 entitled, "A Regime of Jewish Supremacy from the Jordan River to the Mediterranean Sea. This is Apartheid." In this report, B'Tselem writes that, and I quote, "The Israeli regime, which controls all the territory between the Jordan River and the Mediterranean Sea, seeks to advance and cement Jewish supremacy throughout the entire area. To that end, it has divided the area into several units, each with a different set of rights for Palestinians, always inferior to the rights of Jews. As a part of this policy, Palestinians are denied many rights, including the right to self-determination. They also say a slew of legislation, such as the boycott law and the Nakba law, which has limited Israelis' freedom to criticize policies relating to Palestinians throughout the area. Palestinians in the occupied territories face even harsher restrictions. They are not allowed to demonstrate, many associations have been banned, and almost any political statement is considered incitement. These restrictions are assiduously enforced by the military courts, which have imprisoned hundreds of thousands of Palestinians and are a key mechanism upholding the occupation. In East Jerusalem, Israel works to prevent any social, cultural, or political activity associated in any way with the Palestinian Authority." End quote. To borrow a turn of phrase from President Robbins, let's call this what it is, apartheid. Today, this apartheid regime is pursuing its aim of ethnic cleansing and land appropriation through the most indiscriminate and contemptible methods of genocidal violence against Palestinians, and the University of Arizona is not only complicit in this violence, but also deeply implicated through its business contracts with weapons manufacturers such as Raytheon. It is quite evident after more than a month of unrelenting bloodshed directed towards Palestinians that the indiscriminate bombardment of Gaza has absolutely nothing to do with bringing hostages back and everything to do with the Zionist aim of permanent extermination and displacement of Palestinians from their lands so that those territories can be appropriated by Israel. Many of the bombs that are being used to butcher Palestinians in their thousands are manufactured right here in Arizona. The millions of displaced peoples marching south in the Gaza Strip are fleeing from our weaponry. Many of them, including children, will doubtlessly carry our shrapnel in their bones and flesh for many years to come as a reminder of our complicity. After Russia's invasion of Ukraine, the University of Arizona divested from all business dealings with Russian companies, including the technology company Yandex, which previously provided the university community with food delivery robots. How can it be that food delivery robots are a step too far, but providing material support to mercilessly provoke more bloodshed in Palestine is business as usual? If the University of Arizona can respond and take action to prevent the suffering of white people, then it can do the same for Black and brown people. If the University of Arizona can voice support for Ukrainians, who at the very least have an army to defend them, then it should also voice support for displaced and murdered Palestinians who have no means of protection. Thus far, university leadership has failed us, and most of all, they have failed Palestinians who are impacted by decisions made right here. Humanitarian aid workers report a special acronym unique to the current war in Gaza. WCNSF, Wounded Child, No Surviving Family. Every second that this board refuses to act contributes to the blood being spilled and contributes to a stain on the moral character of this university, which will remain in perpetuity. For these same reasons, it is past time to make all of the university's business dealings and contracts transparent and open to the public, and to divest from all those companies that provide and businesses who provide material support to the ongoing program of apartheid and ethnic cleansing in Israel, the West Bank, and Gaza. Thank you.
Ted Downing, followed by Hypatia M.
Thank you. I'm Ted Downing. I'm not speaking as a 53-year member of the faculty here. I'm speaking as a former state legislator, served with Tom and others here. And hopefully, first, I want to thank all of you for your service. These are not easy times to be on boards or presidents of universities, and it's not easy time to be a student either, if you've been hearing today. I didn't come with a prepared mark. I'm just going to say something about the political consequences of what we're seeing, because I think we're moving into the preconditions for something that the board will find interesting. Let's put it that way. The preconditions are that the public is awaking. There's an expression, I love Dune, the movie, and the sleeper has awoken. And I think awaken, and excuse me, and that's what's happening now. The sleepers, all these students back here and all the people affected, they have parents. Their parents are voters. They have all kinds of connections in this state, and the state's starting to ask a lot of questions. I'm getting called by former constituents who I thought didn't even know existed anymore. The questions are coming about financial irregularities. Naturally, businesses are saying they keep track of their daily cash. How did the board miss it? Especially when you've got a representative who sits here in the legislative, representatives in the president's office who's supposed to be reporting to you. They're asking questions about the hiring of over almost 3,000 people as state employees. Actually, they were supposedly acquired as part of taking over a company. This has never happened in the history of the University of Arizona. Never has it taken over another whole company, including its employees. A lot of people here like jobs in this town. A lot of people like an opportunity to compete for those jobs. They didn't have the opportunity. They're hearing questions about why the board keeps meeting in executive sessions. And if I did metrics on it, the board has shifted. I've been here for a long time. The board has shifted to a primarily metrics. They're asking the main question they're asking, I get asked, how long are you in for? I tell them 8 years. Can you be recalled? No, you can't be recalled. Do you make any money? I, of course, tell them you don't, which is I want to know. But those are the kind of questions that are raising questions. And then the big one is the consequences of all this are political. This is a very charged time we're in. And one of the charged ways, how do we get accountability? We get accountability through elections. So I'm getting a question is, should the Board of Regents in the state of Arizona be elected? And that can be decided by initiative or referendum. And I think that level of accountability is the only one in a week. It's a democracy. That's the only level we can come to. Maybe it's time for the Board of Regents of the state of Arizona to be elected. Thank you.
Hypatia M., followed by Paul Shelton.
I'm Hipa Medivia. I am a grad student in geology at ASU, and I will be reading our petition to ban Turning Point from campus. Woo! On April 11th, 2023, Dr. Harris Kornstein, Assistant Professor of Public and Applied Humanities at UA, was harassed by two men outside of a classroom building following class. They filmed Dr. Kornstein non-consensually and was asked offensive, sexually explicit, anti-LGBTQ questions. Then again, on Wednesday, October 11th, Dr. David Boyles, an instructor at the ASU English Department was harassed following the same playbook by the same team who filmed, followed, aggressively questioned, and then physically attacked Dr. Boyles. In both cases, the attackers were affiliates of Turning Point USA who openly declared that their harassment of Kornstein and Boyles was motivated by anti-LGBTQ sentiment. Despite attempts by the ASU student organization TPUSA to distance themselves from the national organization, they are clearly connected. At ASU's TPUSA chapter hosted event on September 27th on the Tempe campus, those associated with the group engaged in blatant sexual harassment of queer and trans students, including me. Such harassment and attacks are completely unacceptable and cannot be tolerated. We must pursue every avenue to ensure that they do not happen again. In his clear and unequivocal statement condemning TPUSA's actions as anti-democratic, anti-free speech, and completely contrary to the spirit of the university scholarship, teaching, and community, President Crow suggested that ASU will do all we can to end the bullying and intimidation and reduce threats against the members of the ASU community. UA President Robbins must do the same for the UA community. We call on both universities to act immediately by banning Turning Point USA from all our campuses and unregistering its affiliated student organizations. ASU Student Organization Club Handbook, the Associated Students of University of Arizona, and the ABOR Student Code of Conduct all clearly indicate that officers or leaders of a student organization may be held collectively and or individually responsible when such violations are committed by persons associated with the organization who have received consent or encouragement from the organization's officers or leaders, or if those officers or leaders knew or should have known that such violations were being or would have been committed. These violations are endangering, threatening, or causing physical harm to any member of the university community and engaging in discriminatory activities, including harassment, as prohibited by applicable law or university policy. You know I can see you, right? Is the danger that I face every day boring you? Look at me. Thank you. While we are committed to the principles of free speech, we must be clear that when an organization violates the rights and physical safety of our community members, it forfeits its rights to university resources. Our universities cannot claim to uphold an environment that is safe and welcoming for all if they officially recognize and register student groups that engage in violence and harassment against our communities. We stand together against violence and hate. We stand together in solidarity with Dr. Kornstein and Dr. Boyles. We stand together committed to carrying out actions that will ensure our university and our campuses are safe and inclusive for students, staff, and faculty so that an attack like this will never happen again. We challenge President Crow, President Robbins, and our university administrations to do the same. I will now deliver this petition with all 700 signatures to you. You have no excuses.
Paul Shelton, followed by Julie Buffkin.
Board of Regents, as a punctuation point to that speech, I would also like to address the recent attack on the ASU professor. If a person openly takes credit for attacking another person, shouldn't there be some action taken against them? Would the courts bring them in for a stern talking to and that's it? And if that much is true of a person, why not also an organization? Dr. Crow's statement after the incidents were excellent, but actions speak louder than words. And a lack of actions also speaks louder than words. And I fear that to the ears of Turning Point USA and its affiliates, the message currently may be a little bit too permissive. Words in the face of action are insufficient. If Turning Point USA has upgraded their tactics from simple verbal harassment to actual action and violence, then I would propose a similar escalation. I ask that ABOR answers action with action, not violence, excuse me, public speaking. Thank you.
Julie Buffkin, followed by Samuel N.
Great. Thank you for listening to me today. My name is Julie Buffkin. I'm an online student at ASU, a graduate student studying clinical research management and science of healthcare delivery. It really started because of pediatric vaccine misinformation, and I wanted to be an informed person in this world. I'm here to speak out against Turning Point USA. They came after my friend, David, who also hosts Drag Story Hour AZ, where I can take my son and his friends to listen to engaging storytellers, read stories of inclusivity with really beautiful themes, and keep him compelled. I also work full-time at a child language and literacy lab, so I know the value of exposing our kids to educational resources that are diverse and represent differing perspectives. Earlier this year, we had to leave a Drag Story Hour because there was a bomb threat. The same way that David Boyles was followed, stalked to his car, attacked, and then later the Turning Point organization at ASU denied responsibility for it. That's unacceptable. That's not a lesson we want to teach our kids. Thanks. I'm the proud product of higher education. I do believe that education sets us free, and that's something that I think is important that we teach to the next generation. I've heard a lot of painful statements today. I've heard a lot of angry voices. I think we can do better. I hope we can do better. Last thing, I'd like to thank you, Dr. Crow, for sending an email to our entire university in response to it. It was meaningful for me personally and my friend David. Last thing I'll say, consistent with our ASU charter, where we define ourselves by whom we include and how they succeed, Turning Point USA has no business on our campus. Thank you for your time.
Samuel N., followed by Javier Mendoza.
My name is Samuel Denjaka Jr. I use he, they pronouns, and I do not need the tongues of colonizers to honor my last name. I, as a queer student and as a Black student, am sickened by the continuous inaction at the hands of ASU administration and specifically President Crow. Yes, I'm looking at you. Don't look away. I, as a queer student, have seen you constantly defer and deflect in regards to the safety of queer students on campus and all marginalized identities. You and the administration claim that all of campus is inclusive and that we don't need specific enclaves. Whereas constantly, especially as a student representative, I have many marginalized students constantly come up to me, telling me constantly that they are unsafe on campus, that they have been threatened, they have been followed, they have been threatened with physical assault even. This is unacceptable. If you really wish to abide by the ASU charter defined by who we include and not by who we exclude, you should not be including people that threaten your students. We are the people that, after all, that the reason that you people sit in these seats. We write your paychecks. Do better. All power to the people.
Javier Mendoza, followed by Alysa Sanchez.
Good afternoon. I will be speaking on behalf of UCW and the Staff Caucus. On Labor Day weekend of 2022, UC Arizona launched a $25 by 2025 campaign to hold President Robbins and President Crow accountable for the goals they profess to uphold, including the ASU Charter and the UA Grand Challenge. The ASU Charter requires the university to support the health of the communities it serves, and this goes hand in hand with the University of Arizona's mission to continuously improve and innovate. We cannot solve grand challenges or build our healthy communities unless our basic needs are met. The purpose of our campaign and petition is to draw attention to the many staff members, both hourly and salaried, who currently do not have fair, livable, and dignified wages. Across our communities, we have seen how the housing market, gas prices, and food expenses have increased. Inflation is over 10% in Arizona, outpacing the national average, and workers' wages are not increasing to meet the cost of living in the area. Our staff members struggle to pay rent, feed our families, and live a dignified life. At this time, our demands have not been met. The Arizona Board of Regents has ignored the issue of the staff at our universities for far too long. We, the Staff Caucus of the United Campus Workers of Arizona, see ABOR's repeated dismissal of our demands as a testament to the indifference of university leadership. It is your job to ensure dignified jobs and fair wages. UCW-AZ believes that all workers must be paid thriving wages in Arizona. We, the staff at ASU and U Arizona, organized under the United Campus Workers of Arizona, recognize that only by our own means and our own struggle, we will achieve our goals of wages and job conditions worthy of human beings. We call upon students, faculty members, and staff of all colleges and campus to organize and unite under the union. Do a better job.
Alysa Sanchez, followed by Dylan Kreitz.
Hello, Arizona Board of Regents. My name is Alysa Sanchez. I use as, she, her pronouns, and I am the current and first Latina student body president in the University of Arizona history, COO and co-founder of the Aspiring Latino Lawyers nonprofit and undergrad studying political science. Today, I stand before you to discuss a matter of utmost importance, the University of Arizona's mismanagement crisis. In recent weeks, revelations about the university's financial health have raised serious concern among students, faculty, and broader community. President Robert C. Robbins and CFO Lisa Rulney recently disclosed a fragile financial situation, detailing $240 million in budgeting mistakes. The proposed solution in drastic cuts in wages, salaries, and workforce raises questions about accountability, especially when it seems that these cuts are targeted at those who are not even responsible for these financial missteps. Amidst these considerations, it's essential to recognize the broader impact on our student body. Financial stress significantly affects Black, Brown, and queer student success. And with recent data provided by the Black Student Success Study, the data highlights disparities by Black students that are met with financial concern. 41.6% of Black respondents neglected their academic work, as opposed to 36.1% of all University of Arizona students when met with financial concern. 14.2% transferred to a different school, as opposed to 10.5% of all U of A students when met with financial concern. 34.2% and 51.95% change post-grad plans, and this is when met with financial concern. These statistics underscore the disproportionate burden of financial concerns on specific student groups, and as we address budgetary challenges, let's prioritize investing in our students, especially those who are disproportionately affected by your decision, and especially the students that create and publish the research our university prides itself so much on. The acquisition of Ashford University, now UAGC, has become a financial saga. UAGC's underperformance, coupled with increasing operating costs, underscores risk associated with such ventures. Additionally, the costly construction projects, including the Applied Research Building and Grand Challenges Building, contribute to this financial strain. And a closer look at the budget reveals significant bloat from salaries, bonuses, and executive hiring. How is a team of people able to make a $240 million mistake and they are still employed? Swift action and accountability should have already been made.
Further, the financial burden of Arizona athletics, coupled with mismanagement of assets, these financial implications, investigations, settlements, and necessary safety measures are substantial. So in conclusion, I'm tired of using stats and statistics to explain that I am one of many students at the University of Arizona facing critical circumstances, and the decisions made in response to this crisis will shape the future of not only the institution, but those that come here. The proposed cuts disproportionately impact those who are not responsible for this mismanagement. And I believe the students at the University of Arizona are deserving of leaders who choose to invest in students more than themselves. I hope our president, CFO, and administration genuinely changes and takes accountability for their actions and mistakes they've made against students. Thank you.
Dylan Kreitz, followed by Megan Wang.
Good evening. My name is Dylan Kreitz. I'm a senator representing the College of Fine Arts. Now, my name might be familiar to some of you if you have anything to do with Texas. My dad's a dean there, and so I can say that I've grown up around you sorts my whole life. And I really do want to say that you guys aren't good at your job. I know that as a student of good administration. I've seen what it does, and I've seen how long and hard people like my father work, hours and hours. And so that's why when I became senator, I decided to spend more than 20 hours a week just on campus, talking to students, doing things, volunteering at the pantry. How many hours a week do you guys spend on campus? I really want to know that. Is it more than 10? I don't think it is, because me personally, I spent close to 50 on campus. That doesn't include my part-time job that I have elsewhere. As part of my job as a senator, I'm on the Board of Appropriations. We were given $200,000 to disperse to 500 clubs this year. For this upcoming semester, we're going to have about $50,000 because we're running out of money. Because $200,000 was given to us as an amount 20 years ago, and it hasn't been raised since. Isn't that crazy? That the group representing elected by students is given 1/10 of what you lost. Are you kidding? If I was given $1 million to give to students, careers could be made, future donations for you, money for you. It's one thing to be evil, it's another thing to be evil and stupid. And I can see you're not paying attention. That's fine. It's proving my point. I mean, I've just been looking at you all, and look at your clothes. How much did they cost? I mean, I see a lot of silk. Silk's expensive, and I bet it was handmade. I bet it was made in Italy or something like that. Love Italy. But yeah, why don't we take a look at where the money is going? Why don't we get an accountant in there? Maybe someone elected, maybe someone who cares about students. And why don't we cut funds? Because we're operating on a shoestring budget. ASUA, if you fully defunded us, we're the student government, and we wouldn't be able, like, that wouldn't cover it. But what about the buildings that cost $99 million? What about the furloughs from 2021, $43 million? We can see where your concerns lie, and it's disgusting. And I know you're still going to vote to do the worst thing possible because it benefits you, and that's sad. Thank you.
Megan Wang, followed by Peter Norquist.
I would just like to make a connection to my name, or correction to my name. I'm sorry if I had written it wrong. It's Megan Wong. Arizona Board of Regents, Administration of the University of Arizona. My name is Megan Wong, and I'm a senior at the University of Arizona studying pharmacy. I work as a community pharmacy technician, and I serve as the senator for the University of Arizona, Associate Students of the University of Arizona. Students, faculty, staff, family alike are feeling betrayed by our administrators and the Arizona Board of Regents. The countless money, time, dedication that people around the United States and even the world have put into this university, it feels like it's gone. There is no benefit for us at this point anymore. It feels like it's been thrown away by this mismanagement and overspending. $240 million gone. I do not trust the university with my well-being anymore. The administration has made it loud and clear that they do not care about us. And with recent events and news that have revealed plans of merit scholarship cuts, faculty and staff cuts, and monopolization of out-of-state students, when exactly did you know about your mistake within the modeling budget? We, the students, faculty, staff, and families should not be paying for your mistakes. We should not be paying for the administration's mistakes, ABOR's mistakes, or the government's mistakes, because that's what we've been doing for however many years this university has been funded. We asked for transparency, but now we are demanding answers. We demand accountability. We demand that President Robbins and his staff to be held responsible for his mistakes. Right now, you may be available to avoid responsibility. And you may not think this is a big financial crisis or any sort of big deal because you have never been put in that position. There will be accountability. There will be. Because unlike you, I serve to help others, and that's why I will always stand for what's right. Thank you for listening.
Peter Norquist, followed by Michelle Ludwig.
All right, good afternoon, Board of Regents. My name is Peter Norquist, and I'm a visiting scholar here at the University of Arizona. I'd like to thank you for allowing us the opportunity to speak this afternoon, and I'm here personally to address the importance of excluding diversity, equity, and inclusion policies from state university practices. And a few people have spoken on this, and I hope that if they have contrary points of view, they'll be willing to listen to a difference in opinion on this. In my view, the core problem with DEI is that it externalizes all criteria by which a member of the university community is to be accepted and fails to recognize the equally, if not more important, matrix of internal qualities which lie at the core of the personality. First, diversity is focused on immutable characteristics like race, gender, and sexual orientation. However, it has the emergent effect of forcing homogeneity of ideology and thought. This should be anathema to an institution of higher learning, which is meant to cultivate critical thinking skills and cultivate appreciation for true diversity in culture, philosophy, and values, insofar as they do not promote aggression against a group or individual. Equity is focused on outcomes. It fails to recognize the inherent differences in talent, skills, and motivation, which are very individualized. Different people desire various outcomes, and not everyone will be satisfied with the same outcomes. They resent having an outcome dictated to them by an anonymous outside body who has no knowledge of them as unique individuals, of their individual histories, or of their unique aspirations. And finally, inclusion is a fuzzy term which assumes that every individual wishes to be organized into a monolithic collective. The values and attributes of this collective are by definition dictated by an outside group with its own inherent prejudices and ideological framework. It is therefore actually exclusive of any group or individual which does not share the same worldview. The covert message, in other words, is that you will be included as long as, but only if, you agree with the collective. The actual net effect of these three programs is therefore to foster division and resentment while stifling free expression, all of which are deleterious to the university environment. I therefore request that you make every effort to exclude DEI from your policymaking process. Thank you for your time.
Our final speaker, Michelle Ludwig.
Ladies and gentlemen of the board, I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak with you here today. My name is Michelle Ludwig. I was actually born in Tucson, and so it's no surprise that the University of Arizona is my alma mater. My daughter chose to be a Sun Devil, so we do have that division in the house. However, it's only during sports, okay? I loved my entire college experience here on campus. But I'm afraid now with today, what I see appearing before me here on campus, my nephew and nieces who are getting ready to decide what to do with their future are not really looking at the universities in Arizona. And myself as a parent, do I want to spend the money here? I don't know. We need to rethink this. My concern here is DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion. The trainings that you are providing here are actually deterring what you are trying to achieve. And so I ask you to please reconsider these things. Right now, it disturbs me, and I'm speaking to the students right now, it disturbs me what I'm seeing here in the room. What happened to free speech? What happened to, I enjoyed a good bantering here on college campus and learning from one another, from our diversity. I also spent 10 years overseas during my schooling, of which I enjoyed all the different cultures and the ethnicities. But what happened to individuality? Why are we trying to make everybody become something other than they're not? Thank you. Well, if you could see, would you like to go to a country and demand that you make changes on their college campus and their environment of what is already existing? What happened to listening to others and learning from that and deciding for ourselves? Why are we letting the university or a group of students make these decisions for us? I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Chair DeVos.
Thank you, Suzanne, and thank you for all of those who spoke for your powerful and impactful comments. Very helpful for us to hear from you, and I greatly appreciate both your respect of each other as speakers and the time limits in order for us to hear from all of you. So thank you for that. In the interest of time, and because we've got some speakers that have some time limitations, I'm going to ask that we adjust the agenda a bit and go to items 3 and 4, where we have presentations with a time cap, and then we'll resume the rest of our agenda. So item number 3 is asking Executive Director Arnold to begin our discussion on Arizona high school graduate going and completion data. John?
Thank you, and George, you ready? So George Radenbush from our staff is going to review the latest college going and completion reports that we produce almost on an annual basis. The board this year has assigned the presidents and myself to work on a plan to increase college going and completion rates in the state of Arizona, in general post high school attainment rates. As part of that, we want to set a benchmark, a baseline of where we're at. And so George has recently developed that data. And so I've asked him to take a few minutes with the board to update you on performances in Arizona. We'll go from there. George?
Of all regents and presidents, it's been 2 years almost to the day since we had an opportunity to discuss our analysis of Arizona's post-secondary attainment at the November meeting here at the U of A. And because in that time we've welcomed some new regents and university executives, I thought I'd take a brief moment to discuss what this data is and how we obtain it. Our post-secondary attainment data results from a long-standing tri-party data sharing agreement between the board, the Arizona Department of Education, and the National Student Clearinghouse, wherein each year the Arizona Department of Education prepares comprehensive rosters of all of the state's high school graduates for the preceding 7 years. Those rosters are transmitted to the National Student Clearinghouse, where enrollment records for those students are identified. The results are reported back to the board staff, along with some demographic information from ADE, and combined to produce the results we'll review here today. It's good to report that in 2022, the number of Arizona public high school graduates reached an all-time high and rebounded nicely from the COVID suppressed levels we saw in 21, extending a multi-year long-term trend. 48.8% or 48.3% of those graduates, so just under half, enrolled within some post-secondary institution in the 12 months after their high school graduation. While this level is consistent with the immediate preceding years, it is nevertheless somewhat lower than we have seen in the past. Looking into that data further by decomposing the data in terms of the number of students who enrolled in a two-year college or other post-secondary institutions, such as a professional school, or who enrolled in a four-year college, we can see that that decline has largely been attributed to a reduction in the number of students enrolling in two-year colleges and professional schools. The number of students who have enrolled in four-year institutions has continued to increase over the last 10 years and totaled 30% of all Arizona public high school graduates in 2022. It's important to understand, though, that despite those positive trends, the 30% four-year college going rate is nevertheless lower than the national average as reported by the National Center for Education Statistics in their Digest of Education, which for 2021 calculated the national four-year college going rate average to be 43.3% of students. In this graphic, we've graphed all 509 high schools that we track in the state of Arizona, both charter and traditional district schools, and plotted them by their four-year college enrollment rate on the x-axis and the number of graduates at that school produced on the y-axis. We've further bisected the graphic with a line at the national average of 43.3% four-year college enrollment rate, and all schools in the shaded area to the left therefore fall in the zone of having a four-year college going rate which is below the national average. This represents 439 of the 509 schools in Arizona, or about 86%, who produced 59,000 of the Arizona public high school graduates in 2020. Conversely, there are 70 schools outperforming the national average, which graduated almost 15,000 of the 2020 public high school graduates. When we look at the number of graduates who enrolled in four-year institutions and segregate that by the students that enrolled in our public universities versus all other four-year colleges, we can see on the left that the number of students choosing to enroll in Arizona's public universities has increased along with the increases in the number of students who are enrolling in four-year institutions generally. That has been complemented by an increase in the number of students who are enrolling in other four-year colleges. Here we see a list of the top 20 colleges, four-year colleges, at which Arizona Public Universities chose to enroll, and we can see that list is dominated by our public universities. In fact, no school has even half the amount of our institutions. And we can see that that list tapers off fairly quickly. So when we're considering the enrollment outside of the Arizona Public Universities, we can infer that that's generally broadly distributed across the country. Looking at the enrollment rate of, or the proportional enrollment of four-year pursuing students, we can see that just about 70%, just shy of 70% choose to pursue their four-year degrees at our institutions. And while for the intermediate period of this graph, we can see that that had been marginally declining the last few years, show that trend has seemed to have stopped, and we are now seeing increases in the proportion that choose Arizona public universities for their continued post-secondary education. The data does show that there are some disparities between the composition of the population of Arizona public high school graduates and those who enroll at our institutions. This graph shows, for example, that economically disadvantaged students, those would be students who are eligible to qualify for free and reduced lunch programs while in high school, represent 34.7% of the overall population of high school graduates in 2020, yet composed 24.9% of the students who chose to enroll at our institutions. Similarly, for underrepresented minorities, the population of high school graduates as a whole was composed of had a representation of 57.3%, whereas the enrolled population at our universities totaled 42.6. Finally, for males and females, as you expect, it's approximately equivalent in the high school graduate population, yet we see significantly more females enrolling in our institutions. As we move the clock forward somewhat and we look at how students do 6 years after they graduate from high school, we can see that 30% of Arizona students realize some post-secondary degree or credential within 6 years of their high school graduation. If we were to separate this across associate's degrees and other professional certifications and credentials and bachelor's degrees, we can see that for associate's degrees and other credentials and certificates, the trend has been fairly flat, and 7.1% of Arizona's high school graduates will go on to have such a credential within 6 years of their high school graduation. Conversely, we see that the number of students who are pursuing and completing a bachelor's degree has been increasing in a nice upward trend for some time. If we look at the completions in four-year colleges, earning bachelor's degrees by those that attended our institutions and those that attended other institutions, we can see that both have been concurrently increasing for the last decade. Again, we look at the top 20 post-secondary institutions conferring bachelor's degrees to Arizona public high school graduates. We can see that the list is, again, dominated by the Arizona public universities and quickly tapers off thereafter. Finally, it's probably of note that slowly over the last 10 years, the proportion of bachelor's degrees awarded to Arizona public high school graduates by Arizona public universities has been somewhat declining. And again, here we do see some outcome disparities between the composition of the public high school graduating class and the subsequent completers 6 years later, with economically disadvantaged students completing at a much lower rate, underrepresented minorities completing at a much lower rate, and females outpacing the males by a significant margin. In the analysis so far, we've really been focused on the people who have graduated college, and so there's an inherent survivorship bias or survivor bias in the data. If we were to sort of consider the question of Arizona post-secondary attainment more broadly and sort of expand our view, we would look at the pipeline that precedes the post-secondary institutions. And looking at the Arizona public high schools, we see that for the last 10 years, they've had a rate which has hovered at or just below 80% of high school students obtaining their high school diploma within 4 years. If we were to look at a hypothetical population of, let's say, 1,000 ninth graders entering school this year, we could infer from that graduation rate and other more current post-secondary attainment rates that 766 of them would graduate high school. And then 6 years later, 534 of them would still have that high school diploma as their highest level attainment. 32 would go on to complete a professional certificate or credential. 22 would go on to complete an associate's degree, and 178 would complete a bachelor's degree. Here also, the disparities that we discussed earlier are exacerbated as they compound over the two different stages, and we can see some fairly significant differences in the expected completion rate for bachelor's degrees across various race and ethnic groups, as well as across genders. That concludes my remarks, and I'll sit for questions.
George, it's powerful stuff. I mean, boy, do we have work to do. That is really powerful data. Thank you for your attention to it. And John, thank you as well. I know we're running badly short of time. If there's anybody that's got a burning question or comment, I'll give you a minute, but otherwise, I suspect you're going to be hearing from us one-on-one afterwards. Thank you. President Crow?
I just have a small comment. George and I have worked together for how many years over the years?
It will be 15 now.
15 years, and so fantastic analysis. I just would advise to the regents that when we look at this is students coming from high school, graduating from high school. I was just trying to get the number. I think we have 20,000 non-college completers from Arizona enrolled in ASU online, just as an example. So if we start looking at total degree production and so forth and so on, I know that wasn't the question of the day, but it's just, we're also backfilling and coming back in other ways. We now also have 5,000 students who earned their way into the university, perhaps by something other than graduating from high school. And so we're working on whole other ways. And so at some point we may want to look at all of the pots here and sort of see how they're going. And then I would also be interested if George at some point could focus on, as you do the comparatives with other states, there are very significant correlations between certain things going on in other states and the higher college going rate. Okay. And it would be, I think, valuable for the regions to see those correlations.
You're referring to programmatic efforts in those states?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And well, it can
design.
be investment numbers, design numbers,
okay.
Colleges that admit down to 2.5 or 2.25 grade points, things like that. So,
just to President Crow's point, we are looking at the age of our graduates. This data is within 6 years of high school graduation. And so it is limited, and we are seeing the number of graduates we have that are older than that grow. But nationally, they don't break the data down that way. And so it's much more difficult to identify and track, but we are working on it.
There is a way to get that data. We have that data. So we look at graduation after 8 years, and it continues to accelerate. They come back and finish in some way. So
yeah, we are seeing growth in that area, which is a positive sign.
Excellent. Okay, George, terrific work. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, John, back to you for the next item, which is the enrollment report.
Andrew.
So
we have not done an enrollment report for the board for a couple of years. We produce it every year, but this year we saw such a dramatic change in enrollment, largely because of the inclusion of UAGC into our enrollment report. We thought it would be worthwhile to update the board on what our enrollment looks like. UAGC comes in with a very different population that we've had previously, and so it has changed the mix of our little bit. In addition, there's a couple of other changes in long-term trends that we wanted to point out. So Andrew's going to review that data with the board.
Thank you, Director Arnold. Good afternoon, Regents, Presidents. As Director Arnold just mentioned, we're talking here about the fall enrollment report, and in fact, my understanding is that although you've seen copies that will be publicly released, I think, soon after this meeting, this report is for the 2024 report, which means it's the numbers reported for fall of 23. So in fact, the current semester enrollment as of the 21st day of the fall semester. So perhaps the most important news of all is that that graph is pointed upwards, and we now have the largest enrollment in Arizona Public University's history, which we've had, of course, for virtually every year on that graph and before. And this is, however, as John mentioned, the first enrollment report to include UAGC. So what we've done is, in many of the graphics, you'll see we've split out what the line would have looked like without UAGC and then with the addition of UAGC, so that you can get a sense of the impact. To give you some sense there, that's about 10% of the total system enrollment is in UAGC at about 25,000 odd students. Even without the addition of UAGC, Arizona's public universities see consistent, strong overall enrollment growth rates. You can see that nationally, we're outpacing the typical comparatives, whether it's all universities or all public universities. So strong growth in Arizona, and you can see the split out in 2024 there too. Because we're going to talk a bit about UAGC, I thought it'd be worth just reviewing a little bit of the profile. In this chart that summarizes a couple of the sort of key demographics of the students, you'll see the headline there says they're mostly non-resident students. There's a relatively low Pell proportion than you're used to seeing at the other universities. Relatively higher numbers of underrepresented students from underrepresented groups. There's undergrad in red, graduate in blue, and then the total of the two is in the gray bars on the right-hand side. UAGC, just as a reminder, is fully online, and it has almost 25,000 students. And relative to Arizona and the system, as I mentioned, it is mostly older and is also mostly out of state, about 93% out of state. That Pell number is about 12%. That's roughly half the Pell rate that we see in the other schools. And it's about half as much, again, more diverse in terms of race and ethnicity than the other universities. When you add that into the totals, as you'll see, there'll be some changes, particularly on the right-hand year. Many of the graphs now are going to have this 5-year view that represents what's in the report. So undergraduate totals and graduate student totals are both growing. And if you do a proportional share, the share of graduate students of the total has shifted from 19% to 21% over the 5 years in that graphic. Those upward trends generally hold across 3 universities. NAU is actually within 76 students of last year, and in fact has largely halted what was before that a 12% drop from 2020. Moving on to online, this is one of the big takeaways of this report, and it's not particularly different from this result in previous years. Virtually all the substantive growth in the system is in online students. On-campus students have grown nearly 4% since 2020, while online students have grown 92%. That online share is trending strongly upwards. It was 28% in 2020, and it's right around 42% this year. That makes us, by quite a large margin, the most online public university system nationally, by a large margin. A little more detail on online, looking at the 3 universities. And here I've broken out online versus on campus so that you can see the comparison of the two. Notice that in general, most of those lines are growing. But it's the relative proportion that online that really is the most striking. In fact, we're used to seeing ASU's on-campus enrollments, and in fact, all of ASU's enrollments always chug up every single year. But this year actually was down 472 from last year for the on-campus enrollment, while NAU and U of A saw increases of 292 and 2,645 respectively. Now, most of the online growth that you see overall has been ASU's online growth. And then this year, there's the additional jump at U of A due to the addition of UAGC this year. NAU online is down over 1,200 from its recent peak in 2021. Moving on to resident and non-resident students, the total number of Arizona resident students has varied up or down by a couple of thousand, which is also a couple of percent. It's essentially flat over the last 5 years. In contrast, the out-of-state students have grown about 9% per year and 24% with the addition of UAGC this year. That non-resident growth is driven largely by the students in the online modality. Looking at the 3-school breakout, each university you'll see is up a few hundred resident students over last year. ASU and U of A are also up in non-resident students, and for U of A up even without the addition of UAGC. But NAU continues to see decreases in Arizona residents of several hundred a year, depending on exactly which year in that 5-year set we pick. This year, using these overall figures, which include undergrad and grad students, online and on-campus students all together in those totals, ASU is 59% non-resident, U of A is 64% non-resident, it'll be 51 without UAGC, while NAU is 33% non-resident. It's down from about 35% or so in 2020. If we examine only the on-campus undergraduates, the 3 non-resident shares are ASU 35%, NAU 28%, and U of A 42%. As you're well aware, out-of-state enrollment is an especially important revenue source for Arizona's public universities. ASU and U of Arizona are up a few percentage points from 2020, but NAU's 28% number is down from 34% in 2020. Exploring a little bit further what's going on in the non-resident student enrollments, we see 2 important subgroups. The first is WUI students. Those are attending under the Western Undergraduate Exchange Program that charges tuition at a more favorable rate than regular out-of-state rates. That number is declining. The second subgroup is international students, and those numbers have rebounded strongly since the pandemic. Looking at it by the three universities, for the WUI enrollments, the largest change is the decline since 2020 of 1,647, or 29% at NAU, where WUI students make up roughly half the non-resident enrollment. And that's an important part of the revenue mix. The biggest change in international students is at ASU for undergrads and graduate students, both. That total increased by over 4,000 since 2021 and by nearly 800, or 6%, since last year. Now, moving on to Pell, the number of Pell Grant students has increased modestly since 2020. The number of undergraduates who are not Pell Grant recipients has increased really strongly, and that's shifted the balance of the two. Again, looking across the three schools, the Pell, non-Pell enrollment mix is strongly influenced by online enrollments. Thus, until last year, most of the increase in non-Pell students was at ASU, while this year, the addition of UAGC at University of Arizona was responsible for most of that increase. Now, moving on to the age split among students, and here we have data divided into students under 25 and those who are 25 and older. The numbers of younger and older students are both increasing, but at a faster rate for that older group. The share of older students has fluctuated around 34 to 35% until this year, when it increased to 39%. And that shift, as you've now picked up the pattern, is almost all due to the addition of UAGC, which has a greater proportion of working adult students. Compared to 2020, ASU stayed at 38% for students 25 and older. NAU moved from 26 to 23%, and University of Arizona, instead of moving from 26 to 27, which is what it would have done without UAGC, jumped to 46% for students 25 or older. So a large shift there. The student body has been shifting to a greater percentage of women for several decades. This is nationally and at our universities. And it moved from 55% in 2020 to 57% this year across all of the universities. For the record, this year, ASU is at 55% women, NAU is 64% women, and the University of Arizona is 57% women. That would have been 55 without UAGC. And then almost done here, the share of students from underrepresented groups is increasing overall, rising from about 37% in 2020 to 42% this year across the system. And excluding UAGC, the share of students from underrepresented groups was quite similar across the three universities this year. ASU is about 40%, NAU 39%, and University of Arizona would have been 41%. However, with the inclusion of UAGC, University of Arizona has increased to 46% students from these populations this year. So to summarize, there's a lot of information there, but I think there are three sort of high-level take-homes, and they are these three. One is obviously the effect of the addition of UAGC to these numbers, because we have to understand the context we put the split out in there. The second is the continued growth, strong growth in online, now across multiple universities. And then finally, the resident, non-resident mix and the shift in those kind of numbers. And I'll stop there.
And for gender, the gender split's remarkable.
Yep, national trend there.
Yeah. Yeah. Comments, questions from the board? Terrific report.
Thank you.
Powerful stuff.
And that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Yep.
Spend some time. George and Chad and Andrew and their whole team really did a terrific job on both of these reports putting it together. So thank you.
Sure, John, thank you. Okay, our next order of business. I'm sorry? Yes,
Say something.
of course, Regent Bell.
I just commend the presidents for the continued work you're doing to really increase the diversity of the student groups in your enrollment. I know you work hard on that, and I appreciate the continued efforts. I also appreciate the efforts to bring in more lower income students and the number of Pell Grants that we have. So thank you for those efforts. I just commend you to continue those efforts to really create the kind of local labor force and the kind of citizenry that we need in this state.
Thank you, Regent, appreciate it. Other comments, questions? Okay, well, our order of business, we're now going to proceed with item number 1, and then from there go to item number 5. Is that right?
We need to do the consent agenda.
Oh, we do need to do the consent agenda. Yeah, I did skip that. Thank you, John. Okay, so the board is asked to approve the consent agenda, items number 9 through 24. Does anyone have a conflict of interest to declare on these items? Hearing none, I move that the board approve items 9 through 24 as listed on the consent agenda. Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Motion carries. John, thanks for that catch. Okay. Next item, University of Arizona asks the board to review a suite of new and adjusted fees for the 24-25 academic year. As a reminder, the universities maintain schedules of tuition rates and mandatory fees that have been approved by the board. New tuition tiers and mandatory fees require board approval to be added to those schedules, after which point a university may continue to change that fee and adjust it year to year as long as the growth does not exceed the board-approved growth rates. Any exceptions to the annual growth limits also require board approval. The University of Arizona, at the board's request, has developed a plan to eliminate course fees and streamline program fees for the 24-25 academic year by making adjustments to several tuition and fee rates and the creation of a new tiered college fee structure. Lisa Rolney, you come forward. I think, are you presenting this item?
I'll do it.
Oh, you'll do it. Great. President Robbins.
Thank you, Regents, for the opportunity today to briefly highlight the major components of our tuition and fees proposal for 2024-25. The proposal before us today is the culmination of significant planning and thoughtful reflection from leaders throughout the University of Arizona community. The goal of our proposal was to provide clarity and predictability for students and their families. The core of our proposal is as follows. Beginning in 2024-25, we will simplify undergraduate tuition and fees by establishing an undergraduate college fee that will have 4 rate tiers. These tiers range from $550 to $1,800 annually for resident students and $800 to $2,600 annually for non-resident students. Beginning in 2024-2025, we will streamline our undergraduate mandatory fees by combining them into a single student engagement fee. For graduate students, we propose rolling all previously approved mandatory fees into graduate tuition. I also want to mention a few additional components of our proposal. The W.A. Franke Honors College program fee will increase from $475 to $600 per term. We'll establish the inaugural per credit rate for our new Masters of Science in Business Analytics offered at the Chandler location. This will be $1,350 per credit for residents and $1,600 per credit for non-residents. To create parity for dual degree MD, MPH students by instituting the same $750 per term program fee for College of Medicine Tucson students that currently exists for College of Medicine Phoenix students. Thank you again, Regents, for the opportunity to summarize our proposal.
Thank you, President Robbins. Questions, comments from the board to the president on the proposal?
Just
All right. Yes.
briefly, I'd like to thank the U of A for clarifying and consolidating this. I think it'll make it a lot easier for students to understand what their monetary expectations are and perhaps be able to apply some of their scholarship monies more broadly to tuition.
Yes, well said. Thank you, Rita. Other comments, questions? Okay, as it relates to tuition, mandatory college program and academic fees at the University of Arizona, I move that the board approve the following changes beginning with the 2024-25 academic year as requested by the University of Arizona in its proposal and presented in the executive summary. Consolidate undergraduate mandatory fees currently set at $1,744 per academic year at the main campus into one comprehensive undergraduate student engagement fee. The new fee combines the Arizona Financial Aid Trust, student-initiated fees, library technology fee, student services fee, health and recreation fee, and athletic fee. 2, establish a college fee for undergraduate students. The college fee for resident students will range from $550 to $1,800 per academic year, depending upon the college, and $800 to $2,600 for the non-resident students, again, depending on the college. By establishing a college fee, Arizona is eliminating its undergraduate differential tuition and undergraduate course and program fees, with the exception of the Honors College Program fee. Item 3, increase the Honors College Program fee from $475 to $600 per semester. 4th, shift the Master of Science in Nursing from a fixed rated approach currently set at $48,000 for the resident program and $68,000 for the non-resident program to a regular graduate tuition rate, and establishing a program fee of $5,000 per semester for both resident and non-resident students. Establish a new program fee for Eller College of Management, Master of Sciences in Business Analytics in the amount of $1,350 per credit hour for resident students and $1,600 for non-resident students. The board approved the Master of Science in Business Analytics degree at the April 2023 board meeting. Finally, extend the program fee for the dual MD, MPH degree currently charged at only the College of Medicine Phoenix to the College of Medicine Tucson. The program fee is currently $750 per semester. That's my motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments? Hearing none. Suzanne, this is an item for a roll call vote.
Regent Mata,
Accept. Aye.
Regent Manson,
Aye.
Regent Penley,
Aye.
Regent Pacheco,
Aye.
Regent Brewster,
Aye.
Regent Goodyear,
Aye.
Regent Reese. Aye. Superintendent Horn.
Aye.
Chair Duvall.
Aye.
All in favor.
Thank you, Suzanne. Appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. President, for that presentation and for the restructuring. Item number 5 is next on our agenda. For this, I'm going to call up Provost Gonzalez. Arizona State University asked the board to approve their request for the appointment of Regents professors. One of the coolest things we do, and always look forward to this. So Provost Gonzalez, welcome, and when you're ready, the floor is yours.
Well, I agree. This is one of the most pleasurable things that we do each year. And this year, it is my pleasure to find my file and then recommend to you 4 new regents for Arizona State University. I apologize.
While Nancy is finding the file, so we surprise them. We invite them over to a committee meeting called the Executive Committee, and they literally, they're like, they don't know why they're been invited to the president's office, the president's conference. Like, yeah, not that many people meet in that room, and then they appear and they come in, and then we unveil their images on these plaques.
Oh, great.
All subject, of course, to your approval. But
and with that caveat.
Well, we
Thank
tell
you.
them that. So.
Of course. All right,
Okay.
Provost.
So as you know, this is the most prestigious appointment that we give to the universities confer on faculty at our 3 universities. It's clearly perceived this way and respected this way. And so we did receive numerous excellent nominations this year. And the 4 that we are presenting to you today are quite distinct in their fields. It spans across the humanities, the social sciences, the sciences, and business. And each of these are top in their field. They're highly distinguished, each with notable awards, and they have each had pioneering impacts in their discipline, which is to be expected of a Regents distinction. But in addition, it's very, very impressive this year that each of the 4 have international reputations that really expand beyond what we see often among our faculty, quite distinct. So I am going to read a bit of their profiles to you for the public record because they're so impressive. So first, in alphabetical order, Sir Jonathan Bate. He is a foundation professor of environmental humanities in the School of Global Futures and the English department. He is the youngest literary scholar knighted in the UK. Indeed, he is one of only 4 literature scholars in the history of the UK to have been knighted for his scholarship. Sir Jonathan Bate came to ASU from Oxford University as an international leader in green thinking and applied humanities with scholarly expertise in sustainability, as well as Shakespeare and Renaissance literature, Romanticism, biography, life writing, contemporary poetry, visual culture, and theater history. He's a renowned Shakespearean who has published 33 books. He has been appointed a fellow and former vice president of the British Academy, a fellow of the Royal Society of Literature, and a governor of the Royal Shakespeare Company. He has received the 2 oldest literary prizes in the UK. His scholarly impact lies at the forefront of the literature and environmental movement in the UK, and he is a leader at ASU in the area of environmental humanities that we are advancing both through the Global Futures Lab and in our humanities fields across the university. So second, Alexandra Brewis-Slade. Professor Slade is a President's Professor in the School of Human Evolution and Social Change. Her research combines insights from biological anthropology with the comparative cross-cultural perspectives of social anthropology. She is trained as a human biologist and has worked in nearly a half-dozen countries across the world, beginning her career as a specialist in the biology of the peoples of the Pacific. She has pursued a wide range of topics in health and human health, and is especially known for her pioneering work in obesity, fat stigma, and thin positivity. She has been at the forefront of her field, leading new theoretical frameworks at the intersection of biology, medicine, culture. One reviewer described her scholarly productivity as greater than just about anyone in medical anthropology today. She has earned a number of prestigious awards, including Fellow of the American Association for the Advancement of Science. She is also a Fellow of the Human Biology Association and the Obesity Society. So third, Thomas Choi. Professor Choi is the Bob Herberger Arizona Heritage Chair in the Supply Chain Management Department of W.P. Carey School of Business. Notably, he has also served as Harold E. Fearon Eminent Scholar Chair of Purchasing Management and was the Executive Director of CAPS Research, a joint venture between Arizona State University and the Institute for Supply Management. He currently serves as co-director of the Complex Adaptive Supply Networks Research Accelerator, and in an international research group of scholars interested in supply networks. He is a global leader in the study of what he calls the upstream side of supply chains, where a buying company interfaces with many suppliers organized in various forms of networks. His publication record in top publication outlets makes him among the most prolific scholars in supply chain management in the world. A 2019 analysis of supply chain research ranked his publications among the most globally influential from 2001 to 2015. He's also recognized as a prolific public intellectual and thought leader aimed at practitioners in outlets like Harvard Business Review, Supply Chain Management Review, Inside Supply Chain, and Academy of Management Executive. And then finally, Meenakshi Wadhwa, we call her Minnie, is a professor in the School of Earth and Space Exploration. Externally, she has been elected to the National Academy of Sciences, and she is a fellow of the Meteoritical Society, the Explorers Club, and fellow of the American Geophysical Union. In 2021, she was awarded the J. Lawrence Smith Medal of the National Academy of Sciences, which is the highest prize in the US meteoritic community. Her work on expeditions for the Antarctic Search for Meteorites program was recognized with her being awarded the Antarctica Service Medal. The International Astronomical Union named asteroid 8356 as 8356 Wadhwa to honor her for her contributions to planetary science. Dr. Wadhwa is an internationally recognized planetary scientist whose research focuses on the processes shaping the formation and evolution of planetary bodies in the social system. in the solar system. Her group has developed novel approaches for using highly precise isotope analyses to measure the timescales involved in the formation of planetary bodies and to study the abundance and origins of water in the solar system. Most notably, she has been a leader on a number of NASA missions and is currently the chief scientist for the ambitious Mars sample return mission to launch in 2029 that will organize international research efforts studying materials that will be returning from Mars across many missions. Her research spanning 3 decades has transformed the fields of cosmochemistry, solar system chronology, meteoritics, and trace element geochemistry. So it is my pleasure to recommend all 4 of these very distinguished faculty for your consideration.
Thank you, Provost. Wow, outstanding. President Crow.
I just want to add, we have about 6,000 faculty members at ASU, and a little more than 2,000 of them are called tenure track. And the regents allow us to recognize with this rank, regents professors by our methodology who could be chaired professors at any university on the planet. And that's sort of our requirement. And these 4 that you just heard about are examples of how we do this. These are all normal ASU schools. These schools have students that are online and on campus, and these faculty members, in particular, these 4 faculty members have participated in all aspects of the institution. So one of the things that these faculty members represent is, I just want to sort of add this, is that 21 years ago, some of us, mostly me, were told that you couldn't build a university with faculty members of this type that could take on the mission that ASU is taking on. Well, that's not true. You can build that kind of institution, and these faculty members represent that.
Outstanding. Thank you, President Crow. And believing, I think that you're on book 5 or 6, and you've got somebody with 33. You've got more work to do. 33 books. How old is that professor?
He's 60, maybe.
That's extraordinary.
He's also a former provost at Cambridge.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Or Oxford.
Crazy. Well,
Oxford.
With great pleasure, I move that the board approve Arizona State University's request for appointment of Regents professors as described in the executive summary and as we just heard. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Anyone opposed? Don't you dare. Thank you. The motion carries. Well, remarkably, we've managed to score about a 5 or 6 minute break before the University of Arizona's big presentation. So everybody stretch for a moment. We'll be right back at 3:30. Thank you. We are ready to resume. If I could get everybody's attention.
Yes.
The next item will be focusing on the University of Arizona, something we do this conversation once a year and everybody looks forward to it. President Robbins and his team will provide the FY 2024 State of the University. President Robbins, over to you.
Thank you, Regents. Let's start by reading the land acknowledgement. We respectfully acknowledge that the University of Arizona is on the land and territories of indigenous peoples. Today, Arizona is home to 22 federally recognized tribes, with Tucson being the home to the O'odham and the Yaqui. Committed to diversity and inclusion, the university strives to build sustainable relationships with sovereign Native nations and indigenous communities through education offerings, partnerships, and community service. So I'm going to take this opportunity to focus in today on our strategic plan, the investments we've made, and what I think are some highlights of the university. Obviously, in the short period of time, we can't address all the things, the great things that are going on at this great university. I will say, obviously, we've heard a lot about our financial challenges, and we'll continue to talk about that during this meeting and beyond. But I'd like to take the opportunity to thank all of our shared governance partners, faculty, staff, and students who have been working with us over the last 3 weeks, seemingly every day, all day, to address a plan going forward that is due to you on December 15th and a written plan to you. So it's not the time for me to go through and describe all the issues around our financial challenges, but I thought I would look at where we've made investments, oftentimes from the Strategic Investment Fund, which is from our reserves. We had planned to do this all along, and I'll focus on 3 of the 5 pillars today. The Wildcat Journey, which is our student success, Grand Challenges, our research side, and the Arizona Advantage, how we, as a global land-grant university, connect with the community in a variety of ways. You will see embedded in this, along this theme of these 3 pillars of the strategic plan that I've chosen, you're going to see 3 videos that are going to prominently feature 4 of our students, sort of telling the story of why they came to the University of Arizona, the support they're getting to be successful, how they've taken advantage of research here, and then how they connect with the community. So to begin with the Wildcat Journey, over half, if you'll recall, some of the regents are new, others have been here since the strategic plan was developed, and there were about 80 or so initiatives in the strategic plan. Over half of them were focused on supporting students and helping them to, as I say all the time, realize their hopes and dreams so they can go out and make the world a better place. We sought to recruit the most capable students, the most diverse classes. Excuse me. And as I started here, focus on our retention and graduation rates. This was a strategy for financial aid, both merit and need-based, that we deployed, and as you'll see from the outcomes, I think we have been very, very successful in achieving many of our goals. It came at a price, though, and this is one of the things that we're going to focus on around how much aid we've provided, particularly merit aid. We have no interest in reducing our need-based aid. There's been a real effort to increase the healthcare workforce, and we're greatly appreciative to the regents and the state legislature and the governor for helping us get not only programs that will help us increase and retain physicians in the state, but also, as you will hear later, about our veterinary medicine program. And then we have invested in building buildings. Not only the old Kim building, that is a brand new renovated structure of the old chemistry building. Those labs in the chemistry building were renovated, but building state-of-the-art new collaborative classrooms for our students. And the Student Success District, it was always the idea that President Schaefer had to try to connect the science library with the main library, but he had a problem. Bear Down Gym was in the way, but we figured out a way to incorporate Bear Down Gym, which is now called Bear Down Building, even though there's a basketball court still in there. And then the Bartlett Student Success Building on the back. A lot of this money was bonded. It was invested in from strategic reserves, but philanthropy as well. So I think this is a great example of how university investment, going out to the bond market, and philanthropy can serve our students. Andrew talked about the number of students that we have over the last 5 years. I picked the last 5 years because I wanted to highlight how we've grown and some of the outcomes and metrics that have been generated from these strategic investments. When I got here, one of the first things I said at one of my first board meetings is we've got to increase our retention rate, because we can't retain students after their first year, which is where they're most vulnerable. We can't graduate them. So we've been investing in think tank and other things that help our students in terms of advising and helping them maneuver through their journey here at the U of A. And I'm happy to report that You know, over time of these investments, they've paid off. Our retention rate is almost 88%. I would love to see it in the low 90s. We don't have data on the 6-year graduation except at that one time point, which is about 66%, 6-year graduation rate. I like to talk in terms of 4-year graduation rate, and we're just under 60%. I think both of those graduation numbers and the retention numbers need to continue to go up for us to achieve the objectives that we had with the strategic plan. It's going to require continued investments in students. And what I've said at many of the meetings that I've had with faculty members, staff, and students, we need to focus on our core mission, which is teaching and research. And I think we will see continued growth in these rates with continued investment. This is just a snapshot of our first-year class this year. About half are non-white, 30% first generation, 4% Native Americans, which is up 22% because we made the investment of guaranteeing tuition to any Native student who is from a federally recognized tribe. So a 22% increase from last year in the number of Native students. And that comes at a price. It costs about $3 million in aid to support those students. For our Hispanic Latinx students, there's a almost 5% increase in those students and a almost 5% increase in our African American and Black students. Also, we've gone out and invested and tried to recruit scholars. So there are 395 national scholars that are in this first-year class. 172 Hispanic, 85 National Merit Scholars. We've got about half of the Flynn Scholars. I think we had 10 this year, and 1,348 incoming first-year students with a 4.0 GPA. Spending a little more time on the Student Success District. I think we've had some meetings in Bear Down Building. That's where we kicked off the public phase of our campaign during Homecoming Week recently. And it's a 9-acre site that integrated all student services and offerings there. It's central, and it's an iconic building that has been around since the 20s or 30s. And so I think this is as good as any place in the country of centralizing the student success services that our students need. Again, the old chemistry building, I think we had a reception in there maybe last year. It's a beautiful renovation of the building, but it really focuses on the collaborative pedagogy that we as others, but specifically many of the professors here at the U of A are national leaders in. So this is the first video of why Arizona. What support do these students get? And it's much better to hear from them.
My name's Kyle Cook.
My name is Hannah Rose Bates.
My name is Pablo Luna.
My name is Trisha Jean Lane.
In trying to decide where to go for college and knowing that I wanted to do something in healthcare, the fact that the U of A had the most opportunity in the health sciences realm with research, different graduate and professional trainings, that was really the thing that drew me there.
I chose vet med because this is what I wanted to do since I was a little kid.
I really enjoy the community here at the university and the opportunities that I've had so far.
At the end of the day, I chose the U of A because it is and has been a leader in the health sciences community in Arizona.
I'm grateful I had the opportunity to join a community called ASEMS, which stands for Arizona's Science, Engineering, and Math Scholars, which they helped me have a smooth transition to the University of Arizona, and also they helped me with funding for my first 2 years at the university.
We were part of the inaugural class, and so it was really fortunate for me that it opened that year so that I could stay home and close to family.
When I was at PMOM, they helped us with getting in contact with faculty at the University of Arizona for majors that we were interested in. They had a program called Second Start, which would help me qualify for more financial aid if I needed it.
The faculty connections I've been able to make during my undergrad time at the U of A have been one of the most impactful things for me. They'd be willing to chat and talk about career and advice, and if I had any questions about how to move forward or how to think about a certain career move.
My favorite part of studying vet med was probably all the people that I met who just made it so much fun. It was such a wonderful community.
So moving on to the research area and the grand challenges, we've made significant investments from the Strategic Plan Investment Fund, which came out of our reserves, focusing, and there are so many here of the initiatives that this is just a highlight of some of the areas that we invested in. Certainly the space science initiatives, CAMI, the Center for Advanced Molecular and Immunological Therapies, technology research initiatives, and the Arizona Institute for Resilience, or AIR. We keep talking about OSIRIS REx. Dante, as you see there, raising his hands, that's on the tarmac at a base in Utah, about 10 miles from where the sample returned. This is just an asteroid. You're going to Mars to get sample. That's impressive. But this was quite impressive too. I think Dante spent probably 20 years of his life working on this mission, and of course now the hard work begins to analyze all of the sample that came back from the asteroid Bennu. As I've said this many times before, I've learned from astronomers, they care about two things: how the universe start, and is there intelligent life out in the universe? And they're very expensive. I say they're almost as expensive as football coaches because they require lots of equipment. And the second one is the Giant Magellan Telescope that we're with ASU in partnership with other University of Chicago, Harvard, other places, University of Texas, and A&M. The seventh and last mirror segment for the Giant Magellan Telescope has been casted right here under the east stands of our football stadium. If you've never been there for a tour, I would encourage you to do that. I made a $50 million commitment to the Giant Magellan Telescope because during COVID there was work kind of stopped, and we needed to bridge that and to have the resources necessary to move it forward. I did it before AIB when I had a small investment fund that came from payout from the endowment from the foundation. But I thought this was really important for us, not only for our mirror lab to be able to complete the project, but as I'll show you later, some of the economic impact that mirror lab has on southern Arizona. And then the James Webb Space Telescope. You've seen the remarkable images that have come back from the James Webb Telescope. Certainly Marcia Ricci, George Ricci, and many others here. I think probably over half of the instruments on the James Webb Telescope were developed here at the U of A. So I think this is a really good use of strategic investment funds to invest in our professors and the work that they and their graduate students and undergraduate students do. The faculty, we're one of the top in the country in producing Fulbright scholars. We have the last 3 years HSI scholars. There are 2 MacArthur Fellows that have been awarded in the last couple of years, last 2 years, and these are the so-called Genius Grants. I think ASU recruited one of them away from us, and we're trying to hold on to the second one. I don't think ASU is recruiting the second one. 17 members of the National Academy of Inventors, National Academy of Sciences, and I know there's a Nobel laureate in here somewhere in the future. You've heard a lot about the Center for Advanced Molecular and Immunological Therapies. When we started the strategic planning process, this did not grade very high. Then we hit the pandemic, and we had to divest a lot of the resources, primarily financial monies that we had earmarked for the strategic plan. This one all of a sudden found its way to prominence. And with the work of Mike Dake kind of leading this with many of our faculty members that we've invested in multiple different areas in immunology and preparing for the next pandemic, CAMI will be really a signature transformational institution that will be in collaboration with ASU, NAU, TGN, all of the many healthcare providers in Phoenix. And I believe, the most important thing in health sciences in the last 25 years has been mapping the human genome. TGN has been part of that. And as I look forward in the next 25 years, I think better understanding the human immunome and how it relates to cancer therapies, obviously infectious diseases, autoimmunity, and being able to have real-time monitoring of where our immune system is. We know that if we're stressed and we don't sleep and we've been traveling or we're tired, we don't exercise, don't eat the right foods, we smoke, it stresses our system. And we know empirically that our immune system doesn't work as well. But there are no tests to do that. There will be a human immune monitoring core in CAMI, and there will also be a commercial grade production facility, a GMP facility, good management facility for producing antibodies and other drugs for clinical trials. There's only one in the state of Arizona, and it's out west. It's near Goodyear, I think. And it doesn't do anything but commercial work and no collaboration with academic institutions. So these are all the things that'll be brought forward with CAMI. And obviously we're very excited about this, and philanthropy will be a big part of funding this, but really excited about the discoveries that'll be made, fundamental discoveries that can be translated into new drugs, new devices, new biomarkers, new therapies for treating some of the most vexing diseases. Moreover, it'll be a site for startup companies, whether locally or around the globe, and even multinational drug companies, biotech companies to come as a center of focus for the state. You can see that the projection of about $5 billion in economic gain and potential of 20,000 new jobs is part of our land grant mission. So we believe that there's a good reason for investing in things like CAMI. In the strategic plan, I really wanted to see a new college of data, computer and network sciences, and that didn't work out so well. And I understand that there was concern for many of the colleges that have programs such as Eller, that has one of the top MIS programs in the world, the College of Science, which has computer science, engineering now has applied computer science, the iSchool. They weren't too enthusiastic about starting a new college that may take students away from their colleges. But this idea of the Arizona Initiative for Data and Computing, AIDC, is one that is being led by deans from all of those colleges, that we would have a centralized location to focus in on, as I've talked about since I got here, the fourth industrial revolution, the convergence of data, physical and biological sciences, and the underpinnings that are important to that fourth industrial revolution, the humanities and social and behavioral sciences, to teach critical thinking, analytical thinking, communication, leadership, and teamwork. This AIDC will be something that will be a very small staff. We would hope to recruit a leader for this, who would be sort of marketing these programs that would connect across the whole university. I think it's a clever idea that the deans have come forward with a minor that would go across the whole institution. This is something that I've had long conversations with Regents Herbold and Pacheco about how do we move this forward. And I think we've got a really great plan. Most of the funding for this is going to be through philanthropy. We've got some connections with one of the world's leading companies in AI, and we think that this could be jump-started with a big philanthropic potential naming gift. I just wanted to highlight where we are on research expenditures. Many of these investments we've made over the last 5 years have allowed us to grow the research expenditures. What we're projecting will be about $940 million next year. Both ASU and U of A are going to hit $1 billion very soon. This puts us at number 20 for public universities, number 36 overall. But this doesn't happen without investment. You've got to be able to put the seed money in, allow professors who write the grants and win these grants to get preliminary data, to develop collaborations. Many times, some of the biggest awards are multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary grants. And so somebody has to put the seed money up for that. And that's why the strategic plan looked so favorably on investing in these grand challenges and research projects so that we could grow our research expenditures. And it's great for not only discovering new knowledge, but for training the next generation of postdocs, graduate students, even undergraduates to be leaders in research. So if we look at the economic impact of these investments in the space science, just the Mirror Lab alone, Buell loves to say that there's about $560 million a year of economic impact to Southern Arizona in the whole state from having this Mirror Lab here. That's about a 5-to-1 ROI on investment that we make and others make in the Mirror Lab and the space sciences writ large. So again, this is something that brings distinction to the university. It helps us to discover new knowledge, but it's also garnered the attention of private investors, names that if I said, you would recognize, that are coming to have the Mirror Lab make mirrors for their private endeavors into space exploration. So this has been something that we said for a long time. The tree ring lab was in the under the western stands, and the Mirror Lab was under the eastern stands of the football stadium. And the best thing that happened in Arizona Stadium was science. Now we got a little balance because the football team's playing a little bit better. If you look at Tech Launch Arizona, this is our tech transfer operation. It's only 10 years old, but the economic benefit is about $1.6 billion with incredible number of startups, over 250, over $100 million of investment from outside funding or outside venture capital and other private equity groups. The tech parks have about $2 billion in annual statewide impact. We would love to build more tech parks, but I'm really happy with the progress that's been made, particularly at the bridges, and I'll come back to that. These are just some of the grants. Like I said, there are so many, but these were some fun ones. I'll start at the bottom first. Our optical science program is clearly one of the best in the world, and they're really good at quantum networking. They also are part of the Mirror Lab and in space exploration in collaboration with the College of Science. But they won a $26 million with a renewal up to $50 million that is a consortium between U of A is the lead investigator of the group, MIT, Harvard, and Yale. So they're really on the cutting edge of quantum networking. This new grant, I heard about this when I arrived 6.5 years ago. It's the new frontiers of sound. So think of how we've been a leader in optical science and how this finally winning this NSF award of 30 million with an option to get it up to 50 or 60 million will make us a leader in the frontier of the science of sound, if you will. There are multiple applications from music to using ultrasound for medical devices, and in collaboration with quantum science to make the devices we use faster, less expensive, less need to charge them. So this is going to be really, we're at the forefront of the quantum phase of society. The Wyoming plant that Kim Ogden is holding up there grows in the Sonoran Desert. And I kind of heard rumors about this when I got here, but now it's been developed into a real thing. USDA and Bridgestone have funded a 5-year project, $70 million grant for this sustainable crop that requires very little water and is a great, reliable domestic source for rubber for making all kinds of things from tires to medical seals and even seals on aircraft. So these are just some of the highlights of things that we've invested in, and I think the return has been fantastic. So this is a video of the students talking about their research opportunities.
I think something super cool about a lot of our physiology faculty was the fact that they were actively doing research on the topics that they were teaching us.
During my first year at the university, I took a class called Research Readiness, where they pretty much taught me what research was, what working in a lab environment is, all the lab terms, and I guess the structure of a lab. Because before I was part of this community, I didn't even know what research was.
I ended up joining Kim Ogden's lab at U of A. She was part of the Chemical and Environmental Engineering department, and she was doing an experiment where they were trying to find a way to treat PFAS, which is a contaminant in water, using algae. I became interested in that because as a Navajo from the Navajo Nation, I grew up without, clean water. So I chose to go into environmental engineering because I wanted to go into water treatment processes.
I've been really involved with my faculties here at the university. The Arizona NASA Space Grant Program is a year-long program where they assign you a faculty mentor to work with during the whole academic year. Through the program, they not only show you what research is, they get you involved in a small cohort, and I really like the limitless growth potential that's in research.
As an engineering student, a lot of people have commended me for being a parent. Every time I talk to my son, he always tells me oh man, my mom's a scientist. And I never thought a scientist could ever be so cool.
Okay, then the last is around the third pillar called Arizona Advantage, how we live as a land-grant institution focused on the uniqueness of being in the Sonoran Desert, and also how economic development is key. So Marla Franco, I'm often told that there's this incredible administrative bloat, which we're looking into for sure, but a couple of these programs that we've created vice presidents for around HSI, Native American advancement and tribal engagement, Black initiatives that Dr. Benson I saw earlier is here. These are critical to the success of serving both our students and our faculty and our communities. The arts are very important. I always talk about the arts and athletics being our front doors. And then how are we going to be able to feed the world's population in arid climates? And we know a lot about this here in Arizona. And so this commission to talk about food production and using the biosphere and other resources that we have is really important. So under Marla Franco's leadership, there have been $26 million of awards that have come that are HSI related grants. One of the big reasons to get the designation is because it gives us great pride. It's been worked on for over a decade here at the university, and a few years ago we got the federal designation. And so now we have access to these grants that we didn't have access to previously. Moreover, Marla has organized all of the, we're part of a national group of research institution, HSI serving institutions, and we meet at least monthly and try to meet in person a couple of times a year. That? Oh. WC, Wildcat.
How long have you been here?
I know yours, forks up. But what I always say is forks down, can't we all just get along? And we get along, right? So Marla has organized all of the HSIs in the state. And there are 20 institutions, including community colleges and ASU and NAU, and has started regular meetings and an annual summit for us to work together on projects that can serve our Hispanic and Latinx students better. And then obviously having students and families come and understand that we're an HSI, we're here to serve them, has helped us to increase the enrollment that I showed you before. I don't know if Levi's here. I think I saw him earlier, but Levi has really helped transform the University of Arizona's relationship with our 22 federally recognized sovereign nations. But also Levi has made connections, and his team have made connections across the country with other Native nations, and have invited them. For instance, when we played football against the University of Washington, we invited a whole group of Native nations from Washington to come down. The same thing with Utah. So Levi was also very important in helping us navigate through our tribal consultation policy, helped us with establishing a U of A microcampus at the Pasco Yaqui Nation. We're working on other sites. And this is a really cool one. Having each of the nations rename signs across campus. And this one is from Hopi. We had an incredible celebration of the Hopi name on Old Main, and we've done it all over campus. The naming of Arizona Stadium was definitely one that people wanted, and also of McHale. So this has been something that has really helped with the scholarship grant and Levi's leadership and our investment in the scholarship program. I'm happy to report that our Native American retention is up to 87.4%. That's up 12% over 2022. And I think it's because we've committed the resources to support these students. Then there's the president's postdoctoral fellowship program. The idea here is this is something that I learned about from Professor Lehman Benson and his experience as being a postdoctoral fellow in the University of California system. I talked to President Michael Drake about this program and how successful it's been. And so we started one here 2 years ago. This is also an investment that nobody else was going to make. So I decided to fund this program. And we've had, I think the first year we had such great candidates. We took 5 and 4 this last year. But the idea is to bring these incredible scholars from across the country and give them a stipend. I think it's $75,000 a year plus $5,000 a year so that they can apply that to their own research. They have to be nominated and supported by a faculty mentor, and it allows them to do work here, for them to learn their department that they're being sponsored in, and see how we like them, with the hope and the target of over 85% of them will stay here in a tenure-line faculty position. So we're only the second year into it, but we're looking forward. I think Lehman runs this program, and we get about 100 applications for these 4 or 5 spots every year, but incredibly exciting program. Just focusing on the bridges for a second, you know, for a long time, there was nothing there. And then we committed to build this refinery, which is a 120,000 square foot building. It houses Arizona Own Line. There's some RII offices in there. Tech Launch Arizona is obviously there, and our UA ARC is there. That's more toward the southern end of the bridges land with development all around it. And then to the northern end, there's a mission integration lab that's a high bay hangar for testing balloon technologies and instruments that'll go up on satellites. And it's a really cool facility. And Dr. Cantwell had the vision for doing this. Arizona Public Media, there was a very large philanthropic gift that allowed us to get over the line. We're not quite there, I don't think, but to build a brand new Arizona Public Media building, it's going to be spectacular. They've been in the basement of the Modern Language building for probably 25 or 30 years, and that'll free up that space for others. There are already people lining up to get into it, but when this is built, we'll have one of the Regents' receptions there, because it's going to be a spectacular building and it will serve our community. And we are very proud of the investments we've made toward helping Jack Gibson and his team make this happen. And there's one at the bottom there, the Pima JTED Health and Medical Career High School. This is something that I had an idea for and brought from Houston when I got here. And I'm so appreciative for the Zuckerman family for stepping up and giving a big gift, and for all the work from the professors here at the University of Arizona and all the JTED staff and to make this happen. We had a groundbreaking there. And the idea is this will serve Southern Tucson with not only Sunnyside, but Amphi and TUSD school districts for high school students to actually get a curriculum that will encourage them to move forward in the health and medical career to make that their lifelong profession. With the arts, Moroni Theater, if you've been by there, we finally have raised enough money to begin to renovate that. The School of Art has had a major renovation with a great philanthropic gift for that, as well as building out this Arizona Arts Oasis. We would love to be able to have a new art museum, but we're still thinking about, you know, could we bond? We still got some debt capacity, but we've committed that over half of this building has to be philanthropic support. And we've got a couple of really promising donors, but you know, if we need a place to house the de Kooning and our incredible art collection away from the small cramped space that we have in the art museum today. And then Arizona Arts Live, this is kind of a cool thing in that, you know, this is Broadway coming to Centennial Hall. You can see we're getting a younger crowd. More of our students are going to these shows, but with the arts, we need a complete renovation of Centennial Hall. Better seating, better sound, better amenities. And we hope that through part of this campaign that we'll be able to achieve that. I just want to throw a couple of slides in here about veterinary medicine. When I got here, there was controversy about whether we should go forward. And many people said, you know, there are two things you should never start, a vet school and a dental school. They're very, very expensive. I'm so glad that we persisted, because last May we had the first graduating class of this 3-year program. Most veterinary medicine programs are 4 years. And I'm happy to report that over 95% either have direct employment as veterinarians practicing, or about a quarter of them are going on to do a fellowship in cardiology or cancer or something like that. So you heard one of our students talk about how great that program is. Other health sciences highlights, and there's so many, I just picked these, but I'm really appreciative of the Banner partnership for increasing our number of GME spots in Phoenix. There's a plan to increase by almost 230 GME spots, and that is really needed for being able to train physicians and keep them in the state. The nursing school has got a brand new nursing engineering program. They just recently got a nearly $10 million grant from the state. We've got a new College of Health Sciences that the board approved with 5 programs in there, including PA, nurse midwifery, physical therapy, and one that's really important. When I went to get my recent physical and opted to get my genome looked at for possible cancer, I asked how many genetic counselors do we have? 1.5. For our entire, the state has less than 100. So this program of genetic counseling that we have in the new College of Health Sciences is desperately needed. And as more and more people use genomics to either diagnose or treat diseases, it's going to be important. This is the final video about community engagement.
Housed in Tucson, I think has a really unique opportunity to serve the surrounding community through different volunteer efforts like the Commitment to Underserved Peoples program through the College of Medicine Tucson.
Making an impact with the University of Arizona being that first college of veterinary medicine in the state has been huge. I think you really see that throughout your communities, keeping them viable, again, increasing that access to care.
With the freshwater scarcity around the world, I decided to continue into water treatment processes because water is important, especially in rural communities in Arizona, and that's kind of why I still want to continue water treatment even after my master's.
Now that I'm at the University of Arizona, I want to help fellow transfer students have a smooth transition as I have, so I want to give back to the community in some way as a peer mentor.
I am the Care Connections coordinator for the Schubitz Clinic, a student-run free clinic hosted by the College of Medicine. My role is to help connect patients with resources if they're perhaps dealing with food insecurity or housing insecurity. We have resources to help them to apply for Medicare and Medicaid.
Having clean water is just a primary goal that we should have. With it depleting, I think no matter where I go in Arizona, I'll still be helping rural communities, Native communities.
Being able to step into the ag industry and provide veterinary support to ranchers and farmers has been huge. So these producers really, really need veterinarians right now so that they can keep our food supply safe.
Those who helped me, I want to help them back.
I really appreciate our students and everyone on the marketing and production team for making the time to make those videos. I just want to close with the excitement. I think our alumni and people who love the university, we've got major donors who've just adopted the U of A, who've moved here or spend part of the time here. And we launched our public campaign, public phase of the campaign on November 3rd. We had some new gifts, almost $120 million in new gifts, and we're already 68% to our goal through the quiet phase of over $2 billion raised. Those recent gifts that were announced, almost 30 million going to student success and scholarships, 36.5 to grand challenges, and then the Arizona Advantage, almost $55 million. So this is a really important part of what we do at the University of Arizona, and I think that we will definitely get to 3 billion. JP Rosniak, I don't see him here. He usually has a stroke when I say I think we're going to get to 4 billion in this campaign. So that's it. I know I ran a little bit long, but I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you, Mr. President. Absolutely. You know, in light of the current controversy, this is so helpful when you frequently say we've been investing in mission success, understanding precisely what that means and why it is that many of these investments are ROIs that are not immediate. This is an extremely helpful way for us to understand that. So thank you for giving us this today. Regent Penley.
Thank you, Chair Duvall. President Robbins, there is so much, I think, that's commendable in what you've had to say and really wonderful about the University of Arizona. Everything from your focus on students, and I still recall the pictures of you. I wasn't here as you were greeted by students and your love of students, but your love of students is evident in the scholarship increase that we've seen at the University of Arizona during your tenure, in the increase in diversity of students, which is substantial, including the focus on Native Americans, and also the increase in the outstanding students, including all that you've done to really make the honors program the kind of success that many of us had hoped for this university, but also in terms of the advancement of science and the nearly $1 billion. As I have said, we have two extraordinary research universities, both moving toward $1 billion. This is really a value to the state of Arizona. It really will lead to much greater economic development and prosperity of the people of our state. As I have also said, I only wish that we had the funds to really do those kind of matching grants that other major states do. But also in athletics, and you didn't say very much about athletics, but in your tenure, we've seen substantial improvements, obviously, of the football team, but also weathering the storm that we saw nationally in basketball, back to success in that area. And you've done something that very few university presidents talk about, and that is reinvigorating the land grant focus of this university with its enormous responsibility to the non-urban and rural parts of the state and the needs of the state. And finally, I turn to one of your slides with health science excellence, the fine department chairs that you've hired in the medical school. As I walked by the Banner Hospital this morning, I couldn't help but think that the people of Southern Arizona are better served by our Banner relationship and what you've done to improve health sciences at the university. Thank you.
Thank you, Regent Penley. And we have a new Dean of Medicine at Phoenix, and I think Dean Abacasas has changed probably 14 or 15 of the department chairs here in Tucson during his tenure. He has an MBA from Kellogg in addition to being a world-renowned abdominal transplant surgeon. He's made some very interesting comments as we've had these discussions about what how the culture was around running deficits in certain departments when he arrived and how he's turned it around. And I think having faculty members engage with us, we're incredibly grateful to all the faculty members who are helping us with this, particularly Eller finance and accounting professors who are helping us through this. But I appreciate all you said, Regent Penley, and like I said, this could be hours trying to get it. You know, there's a lot left on the cutting room floor.
Thank you, Regent. Mr. President, any other comments, questions? Terrific report, timely, helpful. Thanks you and your team for putting it together. I know this is a team effort.
Yes.
So thanks so very much.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, our next item is the Strategic Initiatives and Planning Committee. Everything's investments today. That's right. And so our esteemed committee chair, Regent Manson, will please provide a report.
Perfect. Thank you, Chair Duvall. So we took up two important topics at our last meeting. The first was a discussion regarding mission differentiation and an update on that from our previous meeting. We had received an update from President Cruz Rivera and Regent Penley on NAU's mission differentiation activities, including President Cruz Rivera's assignment to provide a plan for innovative, highly differentiated options and expanding access to Arizona higher education across the state. Going forward, the committee is going to continue to receive regular updates on NAU's efforts throughout the coming year, and so we're looking forward to continuing to see the development in those differentiation projects. To support those efforts, the committee also recommended that the board approve a Regents Opportunity Grant of $1.5 million from unexpended funds to be repurposed to support that differentiation work at NAU. And the Regents did approve that grant, and it was part of the consent agenda earlier today. The main discussion that we had during last committee meeting was the topic of K-12 readiness and the university and programs that we could help and utilize to improve college preparation of our K-12 students. Following the update, we looked at the US News and World Report state rankings. Unfortunately, only to find that Arizona ranks 48th in the nation for pre-K through 12 education. The purpose of the discussion was not to point fingers or to lay blame, but was to gain a better understanding of Arizona's student preparedness, how they are ready or not ready to continue their studies at the universities in Arizona. And we discussed what strategies and resources the universities might have that they could employ to increase early childhood education, Arizona's reading and math proficiency, high school graduation, and college enrollment rates. I think we saw earlier today in the high school graduation and the college enrollment, those numbers are shockingly low for our state. And the universities do have some resources that they can use and do use currently to help improve that college readiness. We are going to use that discussion to kind of inform and guide future university and board office planning related to attainment programs and policy development toward the goal of increasing Arizona attainment. So we look forward to the next meeting, and that is my update, and I turn it back over to you, Chair Duval.
Terrific. Any questions, comments? Excellent. All right. Moving on to our next item, Regent Mata, as Chair of the University Governance and Operations Committee. Would you please provide us your report?
Thank you, Chair Duval. The last University Governance and Operations Committee meeting tackled several large and important items. First, we discussed how we know whether our students are learning the university's general education curriculum. Drs. Comrie and Miller-Cochran provided an overview of the most recent general education assessment, which the universities undertook to ensure that students are gaining the required knowledge and skills from their general education coursework. This year, the universities assessed student quantitative reasoning skills. The report showed that most students are meeting or exceeding expectations for quantitative reasoning. However, not all our students are demonstrating the quantitative skills necessary. Now that the universities have seen these results, the board is looking forward to the university's proposed next steps to address those students' needs. Regents also pushed the universities to continue to refine the assessment process so that there is more consistency in the tools and resulting data. I know that the board have been constantly asking to the improvement and also for the implementation. So we look forward to the next year's update on the critical thinking assessment. With each assessment that takes place, we learn and improve. I really appreciate all the hard work that goes into being one of the few places in the country that is willing to assess its students to ensure they're succeeding. After the assessment discussion, Northern Arizona University presented a request to create a new College of Nursing. This change is crucial to the University Arizona Healthy Tomorrow initiatives and allows NAU to focus its efforts to scale and improve nursing outcomes for Arizona. I look forward to seeing how this organizational change will assist NAU in meeting its Arizona Healthy Tomorrow goals. Next, our three universities presented their fall financial status update. Each fall, the universities present a financial update to advise the board regarding the result of the prior fiscal year and how their budget assumptions of the current year have changed based on the final state budget, fall enrollment, and other financial trends. Overall, the update suggested that the universities has experienced strong enrollment growth in the current year, however, continue to feel financial pressure as they seek to provide student support and navigate a complex financial environment. During each update, the committee members provided direction to the universities. We will continue working with the university presidents as they ensure a strong future for the institution, and will continue to monitor all three universities' financial health as the year progresses. We have other businesses, and the committee also took up, such as the University of Arizona request to purchase a residential property in Tucson, NAU's campus master plan, which was very impressive, President Cruz Rivera, and policies regarding scholarships for law enforcement officers' dependents. Finally, we also approved several academic programs, financing for individual capital projects, and a ground lease on the consent agenda. As you can see, the committee had a busy meeting, and we look forward to our next meeting in January. Chair Duval.
Thank you, Prime Minister.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
I have a new name, a new title.
Very good. Excellent report. Any questions, comments on the report? Very good. Okay. Over to the student regions. Regents Reese and Zaragoza, over to you.
Thank you, Chair Duval and Regents, and thank you to the University of Arizona for hosting us this week. Regent Zaragoza and I have the pleasure to share updates regarding campus life and student engagement during our Student Regent Report. With that, I will pass it off to David to share his updates.
Thank you, Regent Reese. In accordance with plans that I made upon joining the board, I have been attending ASU student government meetings every month and have been thoroughly impressed with their attention to detail and poise in managing the student body experience on our Tempe campus, establishing professional and personal relationships with student leaders like President Morgan Kelly, Senate President William Hanson, and Senator Grace Reeder, I think has been proving to be really fruitful in enhancing the camaraderie between ourselves and the student governments on our campuses. In the near future, I look forward to visiting student government meetings at our other ASU campuses, in addition to their counterparts at Northern Arizona University and the University of Arizona. Regarding relationships with our other student leaders, I'm pleased to announce that 2 weeks ago, Director Arnold, our Director of Community Engagement, Monica Trejo, and I attended an event hosted by Arizona Representatives Cesar Aguilar, Mariana Sandoval, and Lorena Austin. It was geared towards hosting all Arizona student leaders under one roof, and beyond being informative, it was wonderful getting to know people from outside my small Sun Devil bubble. Among the issues that we discussed were the fiduciary nature of the board regarding its responsibilities to Arizona's public universities, thanks to an excellent presentation by Director Arnold, and ongoing efforts by Phoenix College to alleviate food, housing, and financial insecurity among its student body. Additionally, we were honored to have the Secretary of State, Adrian Fontes, join us at the end of our time to have a discussion about topical issues. It was really encouraging to see a fellow Sun Devil in such a position and to get to speak with him one-on-one. And I'm thankful for having had these discussions and for having been invited to join such a esteemed company.
Thank you for the update, Regent Zaragoza. It is very exciting to hear about all the great work that you've been engaged in during your first months as a student regent. Yesterday, Regent Zaragoza and I had the opportunity to speak with University of Arizona student leaders alongside Chair Duval and Executive Director Arnold. We sincerely appreciated their time and the passion they had towards their education in our university communities. Hearing their perspectives and engaging with student leadership is a priority for us, and I genuinely mean it when I say that we always leave reinvigorated with great takeaways. Speaking of passion, earlier this month I had the special privilege to be the MC for the public announcement of the University of Arizona's Feel Wonder campaign during our homecoming week. I was honored to be in the presence of many U of A champions, and I was struck by all the inspiring work that is spearheaded at our different universities. This meaningful work is being accomplished in all corners of campus, including the student needs sector. I'm grateful to be a volunteer at the University of Arizona's campus pantry and to support this great resource for students. During homecoming week, we were able to raise over 6,000 donations for the pantry, and Campus Pantry, alongside its counterparts at ASU and NAU, are part of the initiatives bolstered by student regents through the Student Food and Housing Insecurity Report. Regent Zaragoza and I are very encouraged by the inspirational work of students, faculty, and leadership at all of our universities, and we thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
Well, we thank you for your service. You guys are just terrific. How you juggle schoolwork, your science, your commitment here, as well as your volunteer work as exemplary student leaders. We're hats off to you, and we're grateful for you.
They haven't been to class in years.
Yeah, they should get credit for being on this board.
Can I?
Yeah, please, sure.
I want to congratulate our Regent student because she was how you say, recognized in the engineering magazine, right? So I would like to give her a big applause. Yeah,
good.
she was.
Congratulations.
I appreciate it. Regent Mata had very kind words as well, and it's a real honor to be a regent. So
Very nice. Very good. Okay, our final item is a report from the Arizona Faculty's Council. Professor Dolan,
Yes.
over to you.
Okay. Dear Regents, Presidents, ABOR staff, and guests, the faculty of the three universities welcome the opportunity to meet with you and share positive developments as well as concerns. One persistent concern is the affordability of a college education. According to the 2023 Value of College Survey produced by the Chronicle of Higher Education, 46% of respondents stated that I can't afford it. The future of our workforce development depends on affordability, but there are some recent developments that are encouraging. One positive development in paying for a college education is the recent FAFSA changes. The FAFSA Simplification Act, quote, eliminating the need for the applicant to self-report most income. A significant change will be the reduction of untaxed income included in the needs analysis, end quote. This will help many more families qualify for more aid. But nationally, graduate students face incredibly daunting challenges to fund their education. We ask ABOR and all three universities to greatly increase the level of support for our graduate students. Cost is not the only challenge in choosing college. Societal stances towards higher education are changing, resulting in a reduction of students choosing to attend college. In the Value of College survey, some responded that, quote, college doesn't reflect my values, and it's not for people like me. All three universities are committed to K-12 outreach in an effort to encourage students to see themselves in college. Even if they do not have immediate role models or counseling support, we encourage ABOR and the university administrations to include faculty in their efforts to deal with this issue. We are also very concerned with the challenge to some of the basic tenets of a liberal arts education, namely undervaluing fields that are not STEM and promoting a strictly careerist view of education. In a recent New York Times article, which included a YouTube video bluntly titled, "Is a Humanities Degree Worth It?" Jeffrey Cohn, the Dean of Humanities at Arizona State University, defended his domain as a pathway towards not just a job, but a lifetime of career reinvention. University leadership across all three campuses agree with the importance of humanities. The AFC would love to see a breakdown of graduates, including those with humanity degrees, to see how they contribute to the Arizona economy. But of course, we need to continue to work on promoting STEM education in Arizona as well, as evidenced by an Arizona Republic article that was published today. It is reported in the 2023 State of Computer Science Education report that Arizona is falling behind in computer science. Quote, only 36% of public high schools in Arizona offer computer science classes, significantly below the national average of 58%, end quote. This has a great impact on who chooses to further their education in this area. So, to some, all education matters. Another serious issue concerns freedom of speech. We have experienced situations on our campuses where free speech activities have devolved into physical altercation or violent actions. We support freedom of speech and the importance of students being exposed to differing points of view, but we do not condone harassment, including doxing, intimidation, and bullying of faculty, staff, and students. Everyone has the right to feel safe on campus and to teach and learn unimpeded. But the freedom to debate and discuss the merits of competing ideas does not mean that people can, quote, say what they wish, wherever they wish, obstruct or otherwise interfere with the freedom of others to express views they reject or even loathe. And that's from the Chicago Principles on Freedom of Expression. As educators, we understand our responsibilities to ensure the advancement of knowledge and self-expression. We note that high-quality education and the faculty disciplinary experts who design and deliver that education are supported by ABOR Policy 6-202. Quote, academic freedom undergirds the right of faculty to teach from their disciplines free from unreasonable or arbitrary restrictions, both in and outside the classroom, end quote. I'd like to ask if there's any questions at all or comments on what we've reported.
Professor Null, I would just make a couple comments. Thank you for referencing that New York Times articles on the humanities, which was remarkable. And then I think Regent Penley made this comment earlier. Seeing what many schools have done, but the University of West Virginia's evisceration of the humanities foreign languages has been simply breathtaking.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for calling that out. I would also recommend to regents who weren't able to attend, the University of Arizona Law School had an event Wednesday afternoon on free speech and brought in a professor from UCLA along with the esteemed former dean of the law school, who herself is a First Amendment scholar. And it was fabulous. It was the most thoughtful, balanced, insightful analysis of First Amendment that I think many of us that were there have heard and would recommend. It is worth 45 minutes to find a copy of the tape. So thank you for those comments.
Well, thank you. We appreciate your attention.
Oh,
Do you have
no.
something?
What a shame. Okay, they didn't tape it. I'm disappointed.
Bummer. Okay. We appreciate your attention to these matters and we value our continued collaboration. And thanks for your support in these extremely challenging times.
Thank you. Your comments are always very thoughtful and well put together. Appreciate it. President Robbins.
Chair Duvall, I just want to comment about, we have an incredible College of Humanities here. And as a footnote, Dante Loretto is a proud alum of the College of Humanities and the College of Science, having earned a degree in Japanese on his way to heading the OSIRIS-REx program. And it helped him in space, dealing with the Japanese scientists who are interested in space as well. So that's always a great example to show that you can do both.
Amen. Yeah, well put. Well, thank you. I also want to recognize in the spirit of our shared collaboration and governance, the leadership of the Faculty Senate is here. Leela Hudson and Mona Heimel, do I pronounce it right? Hemo, excuse me. Thank you for being here and spending your day with us. Appreciate your collaboration as we move these institutions forward. So we're wrapping up, and on time, remarkably, challenging Regent Manson's legendary leadership of getting these things done on time. But I want to just take a moment, and I'm not sure who's going to control the screen, but for those of you who might not know, there's actually a day in November to celebrate those who go the extra mile. I want to take a moment to recognize one of our colleagues who definitely goes the extra mile. Regent Brewster. Oh, God.
Wow.
Recently received an award for his exceptional leadership as ASU's alumni board chair and was recognized at the ASU homecoming game. We're also going to get President Crow a bigger hat.
Don't make them.
Or smaller head. But seriously, Regent, you are a dedicated alum, a loyal Sun Devils fan. You go the extra mile. Thank you for all you do for ASU and for the Board of Regents. Those shorts, I'll leave it unsaid. But we want to congratulate you on your recognition.
Well, thank you, Chair. I will find the court jester again and wear them someday.
Terrific. All right, that concludes today's public meeting. I have a few announcements before we recess.